All right, let's go.
Hey, in the immortal words of Judy Brown, happiness is a choice. We're happy to be on the air. Zay looks constipated.
It's not letting us go on live.
What?
Yeah, when I hit the live button, it's not.
I think we're on the air.
I don't think we are.
Yeah. Chris Bennett saying, "What's up, Chip and Zay?"
Oh, he hears us?
Yeah, we're on the air. We are cooking. In the immortal words of Judy Brown, happiness is a choice. And we are happy you're spending some time. Don't listen to Zay. He does not know what's going on.
Nothing looks right.
StreamYard has failed us today until 3:22 of our show. For God's sake, that we are all just bewildered, befuddled, but we're so happy to be hanging out. Zay, how are you doing, my man?
Yeah, of course it's my fault, Jonathan. Of course.
Not your fault.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know what's going on. Different day. But hey, we're here. Rock with us for the next 37 minutes. How you doing, man?
Hey, man. We're doing great. Are you kidding me? We're off the rails on a Thursday.
Quinn's fault. That's one of CB's. That's one of my favorite things that CB says. Something goes wrong, blame Quinn.
It's always Quinn's fault.
Always Quinn Ewer's fault.
Come on, man. Yeah, so we got the US Open happening right now. US Open golf tournament. I know Zay is all over this. He's been texting me every other 5 minutes about what the hell's going on with Scotty Scheffler. He's dragging ass. And people we don't know, people we've never heard of, are leading the US Open right now. And it's turning into a bleep show at Oakmont. No one's making pars and birdies, although Patrick Reed, who is one of the more annoying golfers in the history of golf, made an albatross today, which is a 2 on a par 5.
Damn.
Better than a birdie, better than an eagle, an albatross. No one likes Patrick Reed. So
why would he do? Why don't we like him? What do you do?
Because he's smugalicious. You know that phrase, fig jam? If I'm good, just ask me.
Yeah.
He's a fig jam.
Okay.
He's like irrationally arrogant.
Okay.
But he won the Masters. It's crazy to me. These guys are chipping balls off of the green. The greens are so big that they are taking their wedges and they are chipping the ball. And they're like taking little pieces of the green apart. But hey man, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Hey, you see Brooks Koepka creeping in there.
Brooks Koepka. He just gave one back. So he was 2 under, now he's 1 under. Some guy named Spawn, another guy named Lawrence, Sanjay M. Siwoo Kim is in at 2 under. How's your Texas Sports Unfiltered US Open bracket looking, Zay?
Not good.
Might be better than mine. I basically flipped coins to make my picks.
I mean, might as well. I took all the Texas guys, and at the bottom, I took my man Phil Mickelson, and I have put myself in this event as Blackie Mickelson once again.
Blackie Mickelson.
Blackie Mickelson. Yeah, if you see that guy, that's your boy. But yeah, it's a long weekend, man. It's only Thursday.
Wow. See, here the dog says Patrick Reed's parents don't even like him.
Jesus.
Yeah, he went to Augusta College in Augusta, Georgia, and apparently was accused of cheating by one of his teammates. Now, I don't know that was ever proven. And
cheating how? What's cheating?
I don't know. I don't know if he was kicking his ball into the fairway or
man, you're hating.
But then his wife, she got a little bossy. I don't know.
What? What's bossy?
Listen, Perse Hilton, I need you to look up. I need you to dig into the tea on this guy.
Sometimes my messy rubs off on you, and I expect you to come with the messy. This is one of those times.
I'm giving you the messy. I don't have all the details, but I know it was messy with Patrick Reed. His family doesn't like him. His wife is apparently a bit of a biatch. But he's got a Masters green jacket, and they can't take it away from him, or they haven't yet. So he made an albatross. But yeah, okay, John Rahm, no. So there's no one on the leaderboard anyone knows. But let's we got headlines. Indiana Pacers now have an 80% chance of winning the whole damn thing. According to my man Zay, winner of game 3 tends to go on to win it all 80% of the time. And Miles Turner, 5 blocks. I'll take it. If I can't get any offense, if I can't get any slamma jammas coming down the lane, give me 5 blocks, Zay, for the former Longhorn.
He's not 100%. You kind of see him when he walks. He kind of has a light limp to him. But, you've been in Indiana as long as Miles Turner has, and this is your one chance to get to the NBA Finals. You're not sitting out for anything. And he had Chet Holmgren locked up last night. That was a huge possession. Chet had a 3-point attempt. Miles Turner went all the way out to get the closeout block. Ball ended up in Chet's hands again. He goes to the rim, and Miles Turner gets another block, and it goes off Holmgren, out of bounds, Pacers ball. They were doing stuff like that the whole game. Like TJ McConnell.
Hustle plays.
Yeah, hustle plays. TJ McConnell and Benedict Mathurin, those guys, they won the game for Indiana last night. And Longhorn fans, that should make you happy a little bit, because you know who coached TJ McConnell and Benedict Mathurin in college? Sean Miller did. New Texas basketball coach. Like, he's been
Sean Miller
guys all playoffs. And both of those dudes, they're the reason why the Pacers are in the driver's seat right now. Like, Mathurin, 27 points last night, 9 for 12 shooting.
Who had that in the pool?
Not me. And you always know when it comes to winning NBA championships, like, everybody looks at the finals MVP and then the next best player, like the 2 main superstars or all-stars on the team. That's what we always focus on. But the role players, that's what brings everything together. Like, there's a reason why Robert Horry is a legend. Sam Cassell, guys like that, like Derek Fisher, during those old days with the Boston Celtics, Dennis Johnson. Like, guys step up. Guys have to step up because the attention goes to your superstars so much. And McConnell's 5 steals, man, like, those are back-breaking steals. Like, when Pacers score and then you're inbounding the ball if you're the Thunder and you're turning it over on the inbounds and then they're scoring again, that's deflating. Like, that takes the heart out of a team. And the Thunder, this is the first time I saw them look tired. They look fatigued. A lot of hands on the knees, a lot of huffing and puffing out there.
But you know what? That's because Indiana put forth a defensive effort like I don't know that we've seen in these finals yet. Like, they're going to have to maintain that If they want to win it all, they're going to have to. They were in perfect position last night. They were rotating well. I mean, Miles Turner, 5 blocks. I mean, their defense was the reason they won the game. I mean, I get it that you got some nice off the bench performances, but the whole team was bought in to the defense. They got out Caruso's going in for what looks like a layup and hard foul, not a flagrant foul, but they just contested everything. And that's what they're going to have to do. I mean, Hair the Dog says, Indiana scrappy like my girl Caitlin Clark.
Yeah. Yeah, Neesmith, Nembhard, both of those guys are amazing defenders. Nembhard, his job on SGA yesterday, that was an elite defensive performance. Like, he made life rough for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And remember, both of those guys, they've known each other basically their whole lives. They're both from Canada. They played on the Canadian national team this past year. They are really close. So I said before the series with Nembhard, when you see a guy in practice, there's a difference between seeing him in the games every once in a while. When you see a guy in practice, you really see his habits on just how he gets to where he is today. Andrew Nembhard saw that with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and that Canadian team. He saw how SGA prepared every single day, what he ate for breakfast, what he was eating for dinner, how he went about his routine, training, stretching. You see those little things that make a guy tick and make a guy special, like SGA is, who just won this year's MVP. And you go against him in practice. And since you're teammates with him, you got to know what he likes and what he doesn't, where he likes the ball and where he doesn't, because he was the best player of that Canadian national team, just like he is for the Thunder. So Nembhard has an advantage that not many guys do. And Rick Carlisle, being the terrific coach that he is, he knows that. He knows that Nembhard has that advantage. That's why he's letting that matchup ride. Like, I thought I would see a lot more Aaron Neesmith on Andrew Nembhard or on SGA. You're not seeing that as much. You're seeing Nembhard stick with him basically the whole game. They'll throw double teams at him every once in a while. But that was a tough, what did he have last night? That was a tough 24 for SGA. Wasn't getting to the line as much as he usually does. He usually shoots double-digit free throws. Only shot 6 last night. Like you said, Chip, as a whole, the defensive performance for Indiana, solid. And Tyrese Halliburton, give him his credit, he was good too. When they needed timely shots, he was hitting timely threes, pushing the ball. He wasn't allowing the Thunder with their starting lineup of Case and Wallace and to add more speed affect them like he did in game 2. That's why the Indiana Pacers right now feeling good, 2-1. I like it. Now, remember, a few weeks ago, I told y'all Reggie Miller should not be allowed to do Pacers games as a color commentator. I told y'all that.
Why are you hating on him?
I'm not hating.
He was there as a fan last night.
No, hell no. No.
What do you mean, no? He was wearing his gear.
That's cool. I get that. Be a fan. You're not allowed to do Pacers games.
He's not doing Pacers games anymore.
He was, though.
So? He wasn't wearing the gear then.
Yeah, but still, it was too much. It was too personal. You could tell by the way Reggie was talking.
It's good drama. You like good drama. What's wrong with you?
I do, but the NBA looks bad. Reggie's fit was atrocious, by the way. He had the Mark Jackson jersey on with the hoodie underneath, and he had it like tucked in barely. It was a weird fit. Like, Reggie's never had style. Reggie's always been cool. Reggie's always been a dog. One of my favorite players ever. No one's ever said Reggie Miller is a fly guy. I don't think those words have ever been said. This is the same dude that has that weird tattoo around his belly button. Reggie Miller, he's a little off. But yeah, when I saw that last night, I was like, this dude's such a homer. He should be banned from all
He
paces.
played for them. He tried to take him over the top. He
It's
fell just
too much.
short. He didn't have enough guns around him. Now the Pacers are like 80% chance of winning this whole damn thing. Of course,
It's too much.
Reggie's going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. You need to leave him alone.
Yo, I love Reggie Miller.
He's not working the games. He's just partying and he's a fan.
Yo, that fit was disgusting.
He and what's my man?
Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson was there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, see? He's fine.
Look at this fit, man. Like, what is he doing?
He's a little rough.
He's too rough,
but that tells you he's confident in who he is.
I don't know what was worse, Reggie's fit here or Tyrese Halliburton's dad's jeans last night.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Tyrese Halliburton's dad's. Someone needs to cut him off after the third inning.
I got to find a picture of him in those jeans.
My man's liver is going to give out during these finals, you know? He was... at least he didn't go on the court and start talking noise to SGA or something. Yo,
he's a nut. He is an absolute loon.
I mean,
he's
messy.
I appreciate his enthusiasm. I appreciate his enthusiasm. Like, he loves his son. He's proud of his son. He got a little carried away with Giannis, embarrassed the whole family. But yeah, you could tell it seemed like he just always drunk. Like, that's what it looks like. He just looks drunk all the time.
He probably is.
Good for him.
Because his kid's taking care of him. So all he's got to do is just hang out and drink.
And he knows, like, when Tyrese Halliburton's peers voted Tyrese Halliburton the most overrated player in the league, like, he feels that too. John Halliburton, that hurts his pride too, because he knows that's not true. That's just some straight up hating. And Tyrese Halliburton had a rough beginning of the 2024-2025 season. He had a rough start. And then after All-Star break, he started looking like that perennial all-star that we've seen once before, and now he's taking this game to a whole nother level. But, man, John, yeah, he might need to cut it back a little bit. Who knows? Like, at the parade, if they win it all, he needs to have somebody with him throughout the parade. Like, don't let him go on his own, because
his liver will give out. Hey,
I just don't want him to get in trouble.
I think, the Canadian factor runs a little deeper than what you were saying, because Benedict Mathurin and Luguentz Dort.
Yeah, Lou Dort.
They're both from Montreal. Like, they've known each other their whole lives.
Yeah.
And they battled each other in Montreal. And then SGA and Andrew Nembhard are both from Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
And have been, they've known of each other
since 9 years old. SGA said he's known Andrew Nembhard since he was 9 years old.
Since 9 years old. Like, there's some stuff that's running deep in terms of a competitive spirit and a you're not getting over on me type of mindset. And
SGA elbowed Nembhard, got an offensive foul call early. It was
chicken
early.
Wing.
Yeah, a little chicken wing. Like, it was, and by the time game 3 rolls around, usually things start getting a little chippy. Things start, you start getting a little annoyed with what's going on these last 2 games. I don't care what the friendship's like. Like, we could be boys the whole time. It gets a little chippy. So, yeah.
A little chippy. Things were getting a little chippy. Between the two.
I don't care if we were boys once upon a time. This is going to change your whole relationship, Nembhard and SGA.
Yeah.
His relationship is different now.
Yeah.
It's just what it is. Like,
we're both fighting for a world championship.
yeah. If y'all, they probably used to call back in the day and be like, yo, how's it going? How's pro-life going for you
Now
down
they're
there
like,
in the city?
don't ever call me. Don't ever text me.
Don't call me. Don't
I will
text
cut you.
I like that. That's what
If you don't, we'll
that's how
talk
it's
after
supposed
the
to be.
finals. You text me during the finals, I'm going to hunt you down.
Yeah.
But who had Benedict Mathurin and Lugens Dort as Canadians? The hell kind of names are these?
Canadian names.
I mean,
yeah.
really? Dort? That's a Canadian name? That sounds like he's from Europe. But
hey, blame Steve Nash. When Steve Nash was winning all these MVPs and stuff and running
the floodgates to Canada?
Yeah, they were like, man, maybe I should put down this hockey stick and, pick up the pill.
So SGA, Mathurin, Dort, and Nemhard, we can attribute their getting into basketball to Steve Nash.
I mean, I know Steve Nash had a lot to do with it. That whole country, man. Nash was so good.
That's not bad. Hey, man, Steve Nash those Canadians need to give him like a medal.
Right?
Like, hey, you launched a movement.
Yeah.
Now, 4 key players in these NBA finals are all in the sport because of your Canadian ass. Santa Clara point guard ass.
He was so good.
2-time MVP, never won a title.
That still hurts, man. As a Nash fan, that one, because it's just not everybody's gonna win one. But
and both of his MVPs came after Cuban dumped him.
Yeah, bad move. Bad
move. I blame the Nelsons. They wanted stickmen. They wanted Sean Bradley and Rafe LaFrance and Manute Bol over Steve Nash.
I feel like it happened a little differently than that.
Not really.
I feel like Avery. Oh, Avery. Oh, Steve. Come on, Steve. I'm gonna need you, baby. I'm gonna need you, baby. I don't know, Steve. You gotta slow it down for me. We ain't playing that run and gun. I think it was Avery's fault.
What?
I think they had Avery. I don't know if Don Nelson, that last year Nash was in Dallas. What was that, 04? I don't remember.
You're saying they picked Avery Johnson over Steve Nash?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that Nelly liked Nash because that was the kind of style Nelly wanted to play. Nelly wanted to score 150 a game. So he wanted to play up and down, but clearly after, I don't know who they lost to in the 04 final or 04 playoffs, but that was the year where they were like, okay, let's start over.
That was the year the Pistons beat the Lakers.
Yeah. Like
Chauncey Billups, Mr. Big Shot.
Yeah.
Who, I kind of compare to Jalen Brunson. You know what I'm saying?
I like that comparison.
Yeah, listen, that was big last night. That was big. All right, let's get to the commentary. We got, let's give some love to Cover 3. Great spot to hang out. Check out all the games, hang out with your friends, eat great food. Eat high-end food without the high-end prices. That's what I love about Cover 3. You got happy hour every day from 3:30 to 6:30. 3:30 to close on Mondays. You got brunch on the weekends. Father's Day is here. So all my dads out there, call the ball. Make it a Father's Day experience. Watch the U.S. Open and hang out at Cover 3 on Sunday. What a perfect way to spend Father's Day. I can't say any more than that. That's the best. Hey, and my guys who are snoring, you know what to do. It's time to go to sleepcyclecenters.com and set up an appointment. Tell them Texas Sports Unfiltered sent you, and they're going to take $100 off your sleep study because my man, Dr. Chad Denman, who has dedicated his life to treating sleep apnea after it killed his own father at the age of 60, is the best, not only in Austin, but really in the state of Texas and maybe beyond, because he's so passionate about treating sleep apnea, detecting it first with the sleep study. Because if you're snoring, it's more than just annoying to the person next to you. It could be a sign of a major health issue. Again, go to sleepcyclecenters.com, locations in Lakeway and at the Arboretum. Set up an appointment, but tell them Texas Sports Unfiltered sent you. They're going to take $100 off your sleep study, basically give it away, and make sure that you are diagnosed and treated properly. Sleepcyclecenters.com. All right. And AV Consultations, our man, Tom McKay, when you're ready for the big screen of your dreams, there's only one call to make, and it's 255-8678. Tom and his crew will bring everything to you. Don't be a hero. Don't be trying to do that stuff yourself. You don't need to be punching holes in the drywall, messing everything up. Let the experts handle it. AV Consultations, 255-8678. All right, Zay. I would just say, cheap, shameless plug. I wrote about the Texas softball season, went behind the scenes to talk about the ups, the downs, the overcoming of adversity by young women who were this close to having their season end, but battled to keep a dream alive, and all the ups and downs that went along with it. Wrote about that today over at horns247.com. Now, we talked to Mike White on Monday. Very illuminating conversation. I thought he left the door open for the possibility that Mia Scott was playing with a torn ACL for 2 seasons, because he talked about how her steal numbers dropped off a cliff and how they were, quote, guarding against it, meaning she was probably playing on that ACL last year too. But Mia didn't want to miss any time. She's like, I'm okay. I can move. I can do what I need to do. So I'm good. Anyway, this team was so fascinating. There's so many great nuggets. I hope people will check it out over at horns247.com. Because, from Leanne Good to Jolie Mitchell to, Caden Henry and Mia Scott and Reese Atwood and Tegan Kavan, this was a special group, and they were facing mortality with runners on second and third and no outs in the bottom of the 8th inning against Clemson, and Tegan Kavan strike out, line out, ground out. And I looked at my wife after that and I said, they're going to win it all. They survived death. They looked over the cliff and they got out. And sure enough, Texas killed some demons along the way. They were 0-16 against Oklahoma in the state of Oklahoma under Mike White. And they win 4-2 in game 2 of the Women's College World Series. Caden Henry's home run, we haven't talked enough about it, but it was the game-winning run in Devon Park in Oklahoma City. It shut the Sooners up, sent them into the losers bracket, where Texas Tech eliminated them, but Texas sent them there. And just impressive. There a lot of things had to go right, and they made it go right. The women on that team made it go right. And there were some good, clever tactics from Mike White and pitching coach Patty Ruth. She's the one who said, look, OU shelled you, and they shelled Tegan Kavan. She only lasted 2.1 innings and 2 innings in the OU sweep of Texas in Norman. They put 14 runs on Tegan Kavan in 2 games. They beat the crap out of her, and that was her throwing her rise ball 60% of the time. So, the pitching coach said, we're going to flip it and throw the drop ball. Same thing they did to Florida. And OU couldn't believe it. They couldn't hit her. 8 strikeouts, Tegan Kavan showing that she can do it a couple different ways, and some super timely hitting. Jolie Mitchell had a home run in that game. Again, Caden Henry hit the game winner. It was an amazing season, and we haven't even talked about the finals. I mean, Reese Atwood hitting ball 4, turning it into a 2 RBI game-winning hit that ends an 0-14 slump. There was a lot of good stuff in there, and kudos to those women and Mike White. One more hurrah. Let's get to the right call.
I love a chip shot, my friend. Yeah, that Texas softball team go down in history. Deserve all the love that they're getting this week and for the rest of their lives. But all right, the right call. Before that, though, got to give a shout out to our amazing sponsors like McCall Custom Homes. Whether it's your bathroom, your outdoor space, or your kitchen, and plenty more inside your home, McCall Custom Homes is the best when it comes to renovating your home. Trust the experts that have been doing it for over 40 years and been doing it well. Licensed and insured, top quality at affordable prices, in-house architects. They will handle your permitting process. They will work with your insurance so you're not spending an arm and a leg, and they will turn your home and make it something truly special. Plus, they are Austin Knights, so you can trust them, because there are certain people you can't trust that might be, in different places that ain't the ATX, if you catch my drift. But you want to see their amazing work? Go on Facebook, go on Instagram, check them out at McCall Custom Homes. Hit our boy Mike up at 512-633-9580. That's 512-633-9580. Or shoot him an email at mike@mccallcustomhomes.com. Go to their website at McCallCustomHomesATX.com. It's McCall Custom Homes. We build value into your home. And Covert Bee Cave, Covert Automotive Dealership, has been doing it in the greater Austin area for over 100 years and been doing it very well. Wifey and I are Covert Bee Cave people, and we absolutely love our Buick Encore GT. You could be like us too. If you want to check out what they have, go to covertbcave.com for all the latest specials and inventory, and see the 7 terrific brands that they have to choose from, like Dodge, Jeep, Ram, GMC, Buick, Chrysler, and Cadillac. Nobody beats a Covert deal. Not now, not ever. All right, Shep, what you eating, dog? Like we had like an hour and 40 minutes for you to be eating. You eating now? Oh, you going? The sweet tooth got you. Okay. A little fun-sized Twix ain't hurt nobody. All right. I'll let you live. I'll let you live a little bit. Okay, so Ed Orgeron. We haven't heard from Edo in a minute. I don't know what Ed's doing. Yeah, that's my man. The last time we saw Ed O, I guess he was here in Austin for the coaches clinic. Steve Sarkisian brought him on to speak to the coaches. So I'm sure that went well. Ed O, living life as a unemployed man, national champion, can't get a job, or maybe he's looking for the right job. I don't know, but
hey, they paid him a lot of money to go away.
They did, but they still did him wrong down there.
Yeah,
you know,
they did him wrong.
They did him wrong. Like, come on, you're gonna have.
Should have fired Les Miles.
Seriously,
that dude was up to no good. Getting into it with the honeys.
Yeah.
Ed O at least wasn't going after students.
No, Ed O gets into it with the honeys in a different way. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
So to keep that physique right, Ed O likes to go on a jog to just, stay in shape. Ed O, real in shape guy for how old he is. So someone noticed Ed O. I don't know what city this is, but someone noticed Ed O going for a jog, getting this exercise in, and decided to troll Ed Orgeron.
What?
Well, yeah, I don't think that's the smartest guy to troll.
Yeah. He's built like a refrigerator.
Yeah, and like we love him, but something in that
Right.
Don't make
You got screws
right.
loose.
Yeah,
Got to
got some
have those
screws
guys in
loose.
football.
Exactly. Check out how this altercation went down with the guy who filmed his interaction with Ed Orgeron and decided to troll him, and Ed O wasn't having it this day.
Coach, sorry to bother you.
All right, man.
Here we go, baby. Roll Tide.
All right, here you go. Not really.
I know.
What was that about?
Look, I respect you as a person. I was just being
What
fair.
was that about?
I respect you as a fan.
I wouldn't take those Tigers to you after I take a picture of you.
I understand.
Have a good day, man.
Hey.
Where you from?
I'm from Alabama.
What part?
Tuscaloosa, actually.
You from
So
Tus-
you got to understand that
That's
ain't
cool,
nothing
cool.
towards you.
No,
That's-
ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But look here, just respect.
Yes, sir.
I mean, what the fuck, man? Hey, if you're from LSU, you wouldn't go to Nick Saban and say go Tigers, would you?
I think some people would, but
You would.
I want it.
I love Ed O. I love Ed O.
Have some respect, huh? Have some respect.
I love Ed O. Like, he could have just thrown those cement hands at that dude and knocked him into the sidewalk. Instead, he's like, hey, what's that about? What's that about? You wouldn't go to Nick Saban and say, go Tigers, would you? Well,
Yeah,
no,
he
you
won a
wouldn't.
ring
You
for
wouldn't.
us. Yeah, I would. He won a ring for us. If I'm an LSU fan, yes. Yes, I would.
Oh,
And Nick Saban
yeah.
should be very grateful. I don't think that was the best comparison. I give
Yeah,
it-
it's probably not.
Not him. Maybe not Saban. I get what
Yeah.
he was trying to say, but Saban probably
Right.
would have been like,
Saban
oh,
won, right. He won big at LSU.
he won big at LSU. Some people still love him, even though he made life hell for those Tigers during this time in Tuscaloosa. But yeah, Ed O wasn't playing. He got, dude was respectful. Once dude started saying yes, sir, and all that, Ed O, he loosened up. Ed O was like, okay, I got him. I had to check him. He tried to embarrass me, trying to catch me on camera on some TMZ stuff. I ain't having that. So once he started being respectful, that's when Ed O was like, he let him live. But you're right, Ed O could have put the pause on him. And
Where was that? Where was
that?
that in California?
I don't know where it was.
It looked like it was palm. Yeah, it looked palm trees and sunny.
Yeah. So
See, Ed O's living life, baby.
his shirt's always off.
Oh, his shirt's off. He's got that glisten. He's out there working out. The ladies. He's working that gravel. Hey, ladies. Good to see you.
You think
wanna
that's a
come back
natural
and,
tan?
Huh?
You think that's a natural tan?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's exotic. He's probably from like Sark, like Armenia or something. I don't know. I mean, he's a Cajun, so.
Yeah. Speaking of Sark, Texas, old Dave Campbell's got Sark kind of close in
Ooh,
that.
how about that cover?
It's a little close.
Well,
I like it.
Yeah, it makes him look like he's like super focused and intense and staring off into the distance to find answers. You got it?
Yeah, I got it. Let me pull it up.
It looked like a animation. Is that an actual photo?
That's what I'm saying. It looked like he, I'm not gonna say Photoshop, but something's off.
Yeah.
Like the filter or something. Something's different. I don't know. Like Dave Campbell's been along longer than I have, so they know more than me. But I'm just like, man, a little close.
Mm-hmm.
But shout out to
He looks like he's looking for that national championship off in the distance.
See, that's it. It looks AI. Rex
Okay.
it just looks AI. Like, was he even at the photo shoot? Like, that's how it looks like he wasn't even there, but he agreed to be on the cover. So
That'd be terrible. You telling me that's a Chat GPT cover?
It can't be. Not Dave Campbell's.
That's all made out of computer CGI.
Yeah.
What's the point of that?
Well,
doesn't
it
it look like he sees that national championship off in the distance and he's like ready to go find it?
Looks like has to change his sixth diaper of the day.
Oh, what's the kid's name?
Oh, Amias?
Maya?
That ain't it.
Amias.
Amias.
Yeah, I count on you to know this stuff, per se.
Oh, I'm not following the baby. I'm sorry. I can't do that.
Baby
That's
doesn't have Instagram yet.
No, that's a little much, even for me. Let's bring on the open gym guys. Patrick, Matt, what's up, fellas?
What's up, fellas?
What's going on? By the way, Ed Orgeron splits his time between Baton Rouge and Miami, according to Google.
Ooh, Miami.
There it
Miami.
is. Yeah,
I
that
wonder
makes
what he's
sense.
doing in Miami.
You know what he's doing.
Whatever the hell he wants. He got that payday from LSU to go away.
He's burned through that $16 million that LSU gave him. He is totally whacked.
Yeah, he's having a good old time. By the way, you don't troll him with Roll Tide. You troll him with giving him a cookie. We all know that's the better troll.
Cookie Monster.
Call him the Cookie Monster. Yeah, that's the way better troll. You don't Roll Tide him. Be like, yeah, it's college football. Yeah, you got to Roll Tide, and then he'll just because then any argument he says back is with the Cookie Monster voice, and that makes it that much funnier.
I like that. That's what I'm talking about, PD. All right, we'll get out of y'all's hair. Hope your U.S. Open brackets are killing it. Mine is destroyed.
I
haven't even checked. Yeah,
we have stayed away from it. Welcome in to Open Gym here on Texas Sports Unfiltered here on a Thursday afternoon. Appreciate you guys joining us. Patrick Davis here alongside Matt Galatzan from Texas Longhorns on SI. And of course, you guys are the third member of Open Gym, either here in the chat or on the text line 512-222-9328. We're hoping that no more technical difficulties. I know a little late start for the afternoon shows as everything is down across all these platforms and everything's happening. So we hope that we will be okay as we continue on. But a little bit of a late start for us, but we're starting on time here at 4:00. How you doing today, Matt?
Yeah, Open Gym's always on time, Patrick. I actually just texted you a picture of what Ed Orgeron has been up to in his recent days, and it's about what you expect. Maybe we can put that up at some point.
Yeah.
But he is enjoying himself in Florida or Louisiana or Gulf Shores or wherever the hell he chooses to spend his time after that $17 million buyout.
Yes.
And it kind of makes you wonder what Jimbo Fisher is going to do with $75 million or whatever the number is.
I bet it'll be a lot less fun than Ed Orgeron.
Probably.
Jimbo doesn't seem as much fun as Ed does. I mean, Ed was getting in trouble at LSU, so we know that there was issues of him having a little bit too much fun there.
Do you remember that plaque that Texas A&M made that said Jimbo Fisher National Champions?
Yes.
2000 blank.
Is it in a bar here in town now? It's a bar in Austin, right?
Dirty Martin's got their hands on it somehow, and it's now up on their shelf. I can't believe they did that. It's awesome.
No, I love that they have it. Yeah, because I saw that they were. I remember that was a story that they found a way to get it. Like if you're A&M, you got to destroy that. That's every company I've worked for that we've had promotional stuff. They're like, if you have like a big banner or something, they're like, you have to destroy it because what'll happen is you'll throw out this giant banner that says 1300 the zone, and I have a big banner that says that, and on the other side it's blank. And on the other side, they'll write something terrible and hang it on an overpass.
Yeah.
And then when the news comes, it blows up the other side, and everyone sees your call letters with a hate message on it. And you're like, oh, no, we can't have that. So we're like, every time you have anything big like that, you're throwing out, like, destroy it before you get rid of it. So that one, someone must have snaked that out of an office somewhere. Because
either that or it's a replica.
Yeah, it could be that too.
I mean, it couldn't be that hard to make.
It could be a replica because the original you have to try and destroy that one. And yeah, I'm with you. As soon as I saw that Dave Campbell's cover, it really did. You were like, God, Dave, come on, man, hire somebody to do your cover. Don't get out and do this cheap way. I know everybody's trying to save costs, but AI is not the way, man. Because eventually they're just going to AI the whole thing. And you're going to get articles in Dave Campbell's that say things like, that'll be like, hey, well, this team's probably going to be good. And they'll have some outdated information that AI found about the team. Darryl Royal looks to lead the team at Texas to a championship here in 1970. And so you can't just, AI's a slippery slope, man. Don't do AI covers. Don't do them.
Well, they're a legitimate news outlet. So I don't think that they'll resort to that. But the cover's not great. The cover is definitely not great. I do think that
he was trying to look slick, and it doesn't.
yeah, it really doesn't. I used to. I don't know if my dad still does, but we used to collect the Dave Campbell's magazines, and we had like a whole stack. And like going back to like the the early 2000s or the late 90s or something like that. It was always something to look forward to, but I haven't bought one in years. That's the first cover I've seen in quite some time.
Well, I mean, that was a perk of working with Craig Way. As Craig Way would always get boxes of them sent to him, and he'd like give them away. But then everybody in the office would get some, so we'd always benefit of working with the great Craig Way is a free Dave Campbell's that we would always get. By the way, we're telling everybody that we're going to do a list tomorrow of since ESPN did a list of the top 25 greatest plays since 2000. Matt and I are compiling list of the top plays of Texas football since the year 2000. My man CB's already thrown in some answers. Some other guys have. If you have any top plays from Texas since the year 2000, and you don't have to throw in VY going for the touchdown, we know that one. But throw in those in the comments, in the chat, or on the text line 512-222-9328. Try not to miss any of them. I'm sure we're going to miss a few, but we're trying not to miss any of those. And we'll do that tomorrow for a fun Friday activity. Friday seems like a fun day to go through memory lane and enjoy some games. So if you have any of those, throw those in. And CB, I'm sorry you never won one from Craig. I had the benefit of, having the boxes at my office that I was at more than anybody else was. Me and the engineer were always the two people that were at that office the most, doing work all the time. So I had pretty good access to them.
Yeah, I've got 7 plays on my list so far, and I feel like by the time I actually stop looking for these, we're going to get to like 15 plays.
Yeah. I'd love to either do 12 or 16 and bracket them out a little bit, like the college football playoffs.
That's a good idea.
So if we can get to 12 or 16, we will bracket it like college football playoffs. We know what's going to win number one. We're fully aware of what's going to win number one.
Yeah, but there might be some in there that surprise you as well.
That's what I'm saying. But we know what number one is. That's number one with a bullet. It was a national championship. It is.
Yeah, I still have to go back and look at like the Chris Sims, Major Applewhite, like because we're doing 2000 to 2025, right?
Yeah, so that's like the end of that though, right?
Yeah, so like starting at 2000 is when I kind of need to dig in because I'm sure there's something from Major Applewhite, something from Chris Sims, Colt McCoy that I'm missing. There's some good ones in there.
No, we'll keep trying to figure those out. Yeah, as we keep going through and peel that list up tomorrow. But until then, we're going to get on to some other conversations, if I can pull up my list real quick. And one of the things that I saw today that was a fun little list, and I may throw in a couple more that were on this list that I saw today, but I wanted to go through this with Matt, and we can go through this on the chat with you guys as well if you all want to play along with us. A little game of buy or sell. I want to do some buy or sell today of the hottest teams of the offseason because we've discussed a few of these already. Some of them that we think are really, top tier teams or teams that we think did really well in the offseason or teams that other people think have done really well. And the teams that some people are saying are going to jump in the rankings and sleepers and everything else, the hot teams of the offseason. And I want to kind of get a buy or sell from you, Matt, if you believe these teams are really going to make an impact this season, or maybe they're just pretenders falling in and won't be on the same level as everybody else. And basically the line would be, are these people, I'll just say playoff teams. Are they playoff teams and not, teams like 14 that maybe by technicality slide in the back door, but more of this is a team that we think could make the playoffs and at least play meaningful postseason football. That's basically what we're saying. Meaningful postseason football for these teams. We'll start off with one here in Texas. Texas Tech. We know that Texas Tech has gotten a ton of hype. They went into the transfer portal hard. This is a team that wasn't great last year, and they thought they were trying to make improvements last year with Joey McGuire. They've now apparently the money out there says it's time to compete. They did it in softball, spent a bunch of money, and it worked out. It got them to the national championship game until Texas stopped them. That's all we're saying has to be here. If you get to the national championship game for Texas Tech, that was a hell of a season. But what do you think for Texas Tech? Is this a buy or a sell for you that this team is a real chance?
I think it's it. So if we're going for, did I just lose Patrick? I think I just lost Patrick. So I'm just going to keep going here. Let's see. Texas Tech. Okay. Let me get to my list here. Sorry, guys. Give me one sec. Dang, my list is long here. So Texas Tech had a really good transfer portal haul this offseason. Oh, did we lose? We lost you.
Yes.
Where'd you go?
I have no idea. I thought our whole thing went back down. It just kicked me off. So I don't know what happened.
We're having some technical difficulties here on Texas Sports Unfiltered today due to I believe the Google Cloud being down or something like that.
Yes, I think that was what the main one was, and it's knocked a lot of their stuff off. But yeah, I don't know how I got knocked off, but I'm back, so we're good. I'm happy that the whole thing wasn't down. We're good.
Yeah, so I brought up my list here for Texas Tech, and they made a lot of good transfer portal additions this offseason. They got Lee Hunter at defensive tackle, David Bailey, the linebacker, offensive tackle Howard Sampson. They're returning Connor Carty, or sorry, they're bringing Connor Carty and Brock Galwas and Byron Jones in for recruiting. They're bringing back Micah Hudson, who left briefly to Texas A&M and then returned. And they returned their quarterback, Baron Morton. And look, they made more moves than that as well. The point being, they filled a lot of holes this offseason in terms of being able to compete in the Big 12. And I believe that they have a legitimate chance to win the Big 12 and a legitimate chance to make the playoff. And I think that if we're looking at this on a scale of maybe they won't play meaningful playoff games because I assume they would lose in the first round to whoever the number, whoever wins that first or whoever is off, I believe that they'll probably lose that game depending on the matchup. If it's an SEC team, I think they'll lose. If it's a SEC team or if it's somebody like Illinois, something like that, they may have a shot. But I do buy Texas Tech and what they've done this offseason. I think they had a tremendous offseason. I think Joey McGuire, he brought in 2 new coordinators to kind of help, get the defense on track, get the offense firing up. So all they did was get better. So I'm buying it. I'm really buying it here.
Yeah. I mean, let me look at their schedule this year because I just don't believe they're going to take this monumental jump forward. I think they could be better this season, but I think they still get caught up in the Big 12 and drop 2 or 3 games they shouldn't drop. And if you drop 2 games in the Big 12, it's over. So, I mean, technically they could still win the Big 12. I mean, they're playing Oregon State is probably their best non-conference game. They played Washington State last year and lost. They played Arkansas last year and lost in the bowl game. But they're playing their schedule's not terrible.
Their schedule's really easy. Yeah.
I still think they dropped 2 games this season. I don't know if that keeps them in the Big 12 or not. I'm not fully bought into this. I'm going to sell on Texas Tech being a real anything. I mean, they could sneak in the back door, I think, but if they're in the, let's put it this way, they're not finishing the season in the top 12 of the standings. So if they get in, it's because the Big 12 has a team that gets in outside of that because their schedule is not good enough to bump them up the standings. And if they drop 2 games, then they'll be about 18, 16, 18. They could still win the Big 12 and get in, but I still don't think they're 12. I don't think they're an automatic, I don't think they get in that way.
I think that there's a couple of swing points in their season that you're really going to have to look to here. The first one's on October 18th against Arizona State.
Yeah.
If they can win that game, then I think they're kind of in the driver's seat of the Big 12. If they lose that game, then they also have to, go to Kansas State. They have BYU. Those 2 games will also be pretty tough. But if they can beat Arizona State, I think they have the momentum to at least take one of those 2 games, and they finish the regular season 11-1. If they drop Arizona State, I could see them dropping 2 and then making the Big 12 championship. And if they win that game, still getting in. But I do think there's a legitimate chance they go 11-1.
I think there's a chance they go 11-1 too. They beat Arizona State last year as well. So they had some wins and they just lost winnable games last year. So they're going to try and clean that up. It's very possible. This one's probably the closest of a lot of them for me. I'll say sell just for the sake of argument that I don't think that they finish the season a top 12 team. So I think they can backdoor their way in, possibly winning the Big 12, but I think they're at least a 2-loss team still. Which is not like, that's not terrible in old school football. It's not the worst thing in the world to be a 2-loss team, but that does knock you out of playoff contention in the Big 12. In the SEC, 2-loss team, you're still in the playoff contention. So really all depends on who you're playing. Let's go over to the SEC and another team that Texas fans love, Oklahoma. They have hit the transfer portal. Some people ranking their transfer portal as one of the best in the country. Of course, they bring in the new quarterback with the new offensive coordinator, new running back. They feel like this is the time to attack. They are posting recruiting photos with 17 guys, all with the horns down in them now, really coming after it. It's just funny to see. You're like, y'all know this is about y'all, right? It's not about us. Y'all have fun over there. So
yeah, I never really expected Oklahoma to take the little brother route, but that seems like that's what they're kind of buying into right now. I'm buying Oklahoma in terms of what they did this offseason, bringing in John Mateer, bringing in Jaden Ott, getting a new offensive coordinator. I think that they set themselves up for success as best they could. I think they had one of the top off seasons in college football, but I'm selling their chances to make the playoff because I just think the SEC is too much. There's just too much going on in the SEC right now. Texas, Georgia, LSU, Alabama, and that's just the top 4 there. You can also, see a couple other teams, South Carolina, come in there. So I think it's going to be really difficult for them to navigate all the way through there. And they've got a pretty tough schedule. So yeah, I think they're on the right track. And given the fact that John Mateer is going to be able to come back for another year after this, I think that you're going to have a pretty good shot to maybe 2026 be a legitimate playoff contender. But right now, I just don't think they're quite there yet.
Yeah, that game on September 6th is going to be big to see what they do against Michigan. I know that wasn't really a barometer for Texas. It felt like it at the time, but it wasn't really. But at the same time, I think that is for Oklahoma a big barometer of both these teams are trying to get back into contention. And, if you're able to go handle business against Michigan, but if you're not, it feels like you're probably too far out for what the SEC is going to give to you. And then, stretch that's Texas, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Alabama, Missouri, LSU. That's quite the gauntlet to go down the season. I mean, Missouri is your easiest one, and some people are higher on Missouri. So that's definitely a gauntlet that's going to be really tough to get through and not drop a couple of those games and kind of knock yourself out of contention. Let's keep going down this list. This one seems a little low to me. I wouldn't even put them in this category. I think we know the answer. Clemson's on this list.
Bye. They're playing for a national championship next year.
Yeah, we're both on the bye for Clemson. I get that there's some thought that Clemson maybe is, because Dabo Swinney has kind of been out of the picture a little bit after not really wanting to jump into the new world of NIL and transfer portal. They're doing NIL. They're doing transfer portal. He's very vocally against it, but they're acquiescing and still doing parts of it. They're not heavy in the portal. They want to stay heavily recruiting, and they really are trying to work on retention, which is you see Cade Klubnik staying there and working with Dabo. That's part of more of their plan. But part of that is having a Cade Klubnik and getting him to progress year after year. And his trajectory as he's continued to get better. So you expect to have a performance out of him. I think that one's an easy buy. All right. We'll go from that one to one that we have discussed on here plenty. LSU. A lot of people believe that they had a great recruiting year, great transfer portal year. Bringing back healthy players. This is a year for Brian Kelly and this team to get it together. So, where are you buy or sell LSU being a playoff team this year?
I'm buying them being a playoff team. I think the additions of Nick Anderson, Barian Brown, and Mansour Delane were all really big pickups for them. I really think that Garrett Nussmeier is going to have a huge year. The only thing that's giving me pause, well, there's a couple things here. Number one, that opener against Clemson is going to be a very, very big barometer for what they're going to end up looking like next year. Because if you go into that Clemson game and you get blown out, then that's a real big knock against your college football playoff resume. If it's a close game and you push them and it's like a field goal game or a touchdown game or whatever, then you have a much better shot of, that doesn't negatively affect your resume quite as much. But then if you look at their schedule, they've got kind of a tough road there in the middle of the season at Ole Miss, South Carolina, at Vanderbilt, Texas A&M, at Alabama. That's going to be where you really figure out who LSU is. And if they navigate that stretch and they get into, the final week of the season against Oklahoma, and they're, 9-2 or 10-1 or something like that, then I really think that they have a chance to make some noise in the playoffs. But if it turns into a Brian Kelly season that we've gotten accustomed to the last couple of years, where they start 0-1, get hot, and then fall off again at the end of the season, it's going to be a whole other thing entirely, and he could be on the hot seat. So I'm buying it for now, very hesitantly. Very hesitantly.
I'm not bought into this team. I'm not bought into this defense whatsoever. I think that Clemson is going to rout them because I think Clemson's defense will show up and stop them enough. And I don't see LSU having an answer for a lot of these teams' offenses. I just don't think they have. Like, if we look at when Brian Kelly was last good, it's when he had a guy who just played for a national championship as a defensive coordinator in Marcus Freeman. So when he had a really, really good defensive coordinator and a guy who put together this whole defense that really made Notre Dame work, Brian Kelly was a lot better. He is now, focusing on the offense over there in LSU. I don't have the faith the defense is where it needs to be right now. I think Clemson will expose that. I think that Florida game is going to be a shootout. That's a game that could be 50-50 because you talk about two teams that are just going to rely on their quarterback a lot this year. I think both these teams are going to score a lot of points. So that's a 50-50 game offensively there. And then Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin knows how to put the ball downfield. Ladori Sellers at South Carolina. Alabama, you're sure Kalen DeBoer is probably going to figure out something on that offense to get it rolling ahead. So it feels like this is still a 3-loss team. They have a tough enough schedule that a 3-loss season could technically put them near the back end of it. But it still feels like they're at least a 3-loss team. And if things go poorly and if there's any injuries, they're easily a 4-loss team if things start to go wrong, because that stretch down the end, you could drop one there that you weren't expecting to. But I think they're a 3-loss team anyway, so I'm going to sell on LSU being in that real contender race.
I think that one thing that people are probably overlooking for LSU, and this is a negative thing here, they lost Bo Davis, who is arguably the best defensive line coach in college football. So how Kyle Williams steps in and replaces him, I think is going to tell you a lot about what LSU looks like next year. So, yeah, I mean, I think you're right that Clemson game is going to tell us everything we need to know about LSU early on in the season. And
yeah, I mean,
if they get blown out, then it's another one of those years for them.
And it should tell you something that Bo Davis was like, oh, I don't want to be here. I'll go to the NFL. I'm good. Now, we know he left Texas to go there to be with his son. We all fully understood. And he's from Louisiana. It all made sense. And then he took a Saints job pretty quick out of there. So there could be something to be said of he wasn't necessarily feeling that defense overall with Blake Baker taking over as a defensive coordinator. But I don't have any faith in the defense. And so if we say I don't have faith in this defense, then I get Garrett Nussmeier can throw the ball. But what are you going to do when you start playing these more electric offenses that have some defense behind them? That's why I just don't buy into this LSU team. I just don't think Brian Kelly is the guy to put it all together unless he has somebody else with him who's really handling the other side of it. And he had that in Notre Dame. And I don't think Notre Dame or LSU fully understood how good Marcus Freeman was.
Yeah, and I don't think that that LSU fully understood what Chip Kelly was at Notre Dame either. It's easy to win at Notre Dame.
It's a lot easier.
It is going from Notre Dame to the SEC is extremely difficult because you ostensibly pick your own schedule at Notre Dame. You can play whoever you want. You're an independent. You don't have any, outside of this USC thing, which may go away. You're not having to face this gauntlet every year. And I think Chip Kelly kind of backdoored his way into success there. I've never really bought him as a elite head coach. So, there we are.
No, I'm with you. I like that, CB. I do like the keeping the score at 44 for Cole Pittman. That might jump on the list. Might jump in, depending on how many people we put on that. I like that, though. Let's go to another one. How about going to the Big Ten? I know you were a big fan of the Big Ten once you get past the top there, Matt. What about Illinois? We look at their schedule. The schedule makes you believe it's possible, but this is a team returning a lot of players. No one thinks they're a national championship contender, but are they a playoff contender?
As in, are they going to make the playoff? I think you kind of have to consider them as a contender for that. I don't buy them though, man. Like I think that they'll make the playoff. I think they'll have a legitimate chance to make the playoff. So I'll buy that. But I'm not going to buy them being able to compete in the playoff. I don't buy Brett Bielema as a championship level head coach. I think that this is just going to be another version of Indiana last year, where they face a really easy schedule, and then they get into their game against Ohio State and they get boat raced, and then they backdoor their way into the playoff and they play Notre Dame or Georgia or somebody like that in their first game, and they just get dominated. So I'm not buying them as a legitimate championship contender.
Yeah, if they go 5-0 through USC, then they're pretty much in the playoff. It feels like, well, if you've been able to win those games, because you have to beat a Duke team that is spending money at least. I mean, they're not great, but you have to beat them, show you're there. You have to beat USC. But once you do that, the loss to Ohio State's not going to kill you, but Purdue, Ohio State, Washington, Rutgers, Maryland, Wisconsin, Northwestern, you can run the rest of that schedule. If you've beaten those teams, you can beat everybody else in there except for Ohio State. It's a one-loss team, and you walk away, right? Mm-hmm. So, and you're in the playoffs. So I buy it the same as you do. I don't think this is an actual contender in any sense, but schedule and conference-wise, they will be able to work their way into a top 10 ranking. And whether that's deserved or not is a whole different conversation, but I do think they can work themselves into top 10 because they're in the Big Ten. And if they look at a Big Ten team, they go, you're one loss in the Big Ten, and that's to an Ohio State team. We're going to pretend like we didn't look at the rest of your schedule. And we'll just say, you played a Big Ten schedule and only lost one game to one of the best teams in college football. Of course you're a good team. And that's a very flawed narrative. But that is also not completely out of the realm of possibility if we go down there. Let's keep going down our list. What do you think about Florida? Florida playing a really tough schedule. But people believe in DJ Lagway. They look like they were somewhat turning a corner last year. They've got some more recruits in. They've got another year underneath them. Billy Napier starting to figure it out. Maybe they figure out a couple things. And, I mean, if they win a couple 50-50 games in there and can walk out, I mean, that schedule's tough enough. They could be a 3-loss team and still be top 12. That's how tough that schedule is. But I think you're looking closer to needing to be a 2-loss team to really be in that conversation. Can they be a 2-loss team, or are they automatically probably going to have at least 3 losses?
I think they could be anywhere from, 6-5, 7-7 to 9-3, but I don't buy them as being 10-2. I think that schedule is just too difficult. I think that they're probably going to be on the outside looking in, sort of like in the way if they go, let's say 9-3, and they have as good of a season as I think that they're capable of having, then I think they're probably still on the outside looking in, like an Ole Miss or an Alabama or a South Carolina last year, where there's too many other teams from the SEC that are going to make it in, and the committee is just going to say, hey, we need to get some other conferences in here, and you just didn't do enough, even though your strength of schedule is insane.
No, I think.
Oh, we lost Patrick again. 2001 Holiday Bowl major led the biggest comeback in Texas history in his final game as the Longhorn. I like that one a lot, actually. Major Applewhite is going to be on this list somewhere, CB. So all the Major Applewhite ones you can throw in here are fantastic. And I do have the Quan game-winning touchdown versus Ohio State on my list already, so that's probably going to be in there as well.
I don't
also
know
like
happening.
Ryan Bailey game-winning field goal at Nebraska. CB's just throwing a bunch of good ones in here.
I know. Well, you
I
got to
love this by
understand,
CB.
Matt. You're newer to
And
this.
Chris Sims
CB
popping his finger back in place versus Nebraska in 0-2 while throwing for 419 yards and ending Nebraska's 26 home game winning streak. I like that a lot, CB.
CB for a while.
Yeah, I think that
we
what we're
thought-
probably going to do there as we wait for Patrick to get back.
I'm back. Are we back?
And he
Can you
kind of
hear me?
alluded to this earlier. Is I think we're gonna probably pick our top 12, and then we're gonna kind of bracket it off like the college football playoff. I really like that idea. Patrick, you back? You're back.
I'm back. All right. We see each other. We're good. Has everybody got me now?
Everybody's
Sorry, I keep
good.
popping off. I thought I was back a second ago, but yeah, I don't know what is happening where I keep getting dropped from this. But I keep getting dropped from it. So we'll go. Yeah, no, we're gonna keep it rolling here with but I do see, if you don't know, CB was a man there is times where we thought CB was Craig Way's burner account because of how much information he has about Texas football. He is he is a wealth of information. So we always
99
appreciate CB.
99 Red River Shootout is not going to make the list, unfortunately, because this is a post 2000 list.
Yes. Even though I do like, I'll go back and watch the clip anyway. Yes, but we will have all those. But yes, what I was trying to say before I was cut off, I think if Florida is able to beat Texas or Georgia or upset Texas or Georgia, then that is where they really jump into the conversation, because then they could be a 2-3 loss team with a really high level win on their resume that bumps them up above some other teams because they beat a elite team. But they have to be able to beat one of those. Yes. Chad Hastings, the CB9000. Yeah, no, I'm telling you, this is Matt. If you knew the amount of times we'd be doing radio and we'd all ask a question that none of us knew, and we're like, CB, if you want to jump in with that one before AI, there was CB. Put it that way, for Texas football knowledge.
The original AI, CB9000.
Yeah. So it is a good time. But yeah, that's where I put Florida right now. There is sell because I don't think they beat Texas or Georgia. I think they're probably still a year away. Maybe next year, if DJ Lagway gets a full year and stays healthy, then that's when you look at him being really, really dangerous. But I'll say they may need another year to recruit and bring some guys in. I think they'll be good, but that schedule is just tough. And playing two teams like Texas and Georgia in the same year is not fun.
Yeah, and I think that, with Florida also, with their future projections, it's a little bit difficult as well, because if they go 7-5 again and they don't really kind of take the next step and get a big win over Georgia, they just have another middle of the road year, Billy Napier might be gone.
Yeah.
So that's gonna start a whole new, program over there, and it's gonna set them back a little bit. And I don't know. It's difficult to project their future for sure.
All right. How about we head over to the ACC? Here's one. They spent some money. They brought in Carson Beck. They brought in Scholarship Burt. They are ready to go. They've been ramping up this program there in Miami. Is Miami a buy or sell for you, Matt?
I think they're going to make the playoff, because I don't think there's anybody else in the ACC to keep them out of the playoff outside of Clemson. It's just a bad conference. And let me pull up their schedule real quick. I don't know if they play SMU or not. I want to say that they don't. Give me a second here. Yeah, so here's Miami's schedule. They got Notre Dame as the opener, which is super tough. Then they also have Florida in the non-con, which is tough. And they're at Florida State. They do play SMU at SMU. They have a game against Louisville, but they don't play Clemson. So if they navigate that schedule and they can get to the ACC championship, and let's say they're 11-1 in the regular season, and then they get Clemson in the ACC championship, there's an argument to be made that if they lose that game, they could still make it in. But if they drop 2 regular season games, I don't think they have a chance. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna hesitantly buy them, but I don't feel good about it. Also, I don't have any faith in Carson Beck at this point.
No, neither do I. And don't really have much faith in Scholarship Bird either. So I love the kid, but I don't have much faith in him. Yeah, I think if you start the season 0-1, it's a really big uphill climb from you from there. That Florida game is going to be tough. Florida State, we don't know what they're going to be this year. That could be a cakewalk. That could be tough depending on what they do next year. But yeah, SMU, that's another that SMU game is really kind of the winner of that game. You feel like is probably the second ACC team to get in, and whoever wins that one. Other than that, but I mean, we've seen my college rankings. I have SMU winning it. I have more faith in this SMU team to be built.
We have lost Patrick again. So let me pull up my college football playoff projections here. I can't remember if I had Miami making it or not. I feel like I did. But I know I had 2 ACC teams making it, I think. Here we go. So, yeah, no, I only had 1 ACC team making it. I only have Clemson. So maybe I don't even have SMU making it in because I don't think that they're going to be the same team that they were last year. They do return their quarterback. I think Rhett Lashley has done a really good job with that program, and they're going to be very talented. I'm just not sure that they're going to have the horses to compete in the ACC against Miami or against Clemson or Louisville could come out of nowhere as well. So it'll be difficult to say if there's even an ACC team that deserves a second ACC team outside of Clemson that deserves a college football playoff bid, depending on what happens. I think Miami's the one that has the best chance for that, and now we have Patrick back.
Hey, guys, I don't know what's happening. Yeah. I'm going to blame this not on my internet. I'm going to blame this on the other thing. I don't know what is happening, though, because normally if my internet goes out, it kind of fades and everything, and it just keeps kicking me off the website completely. So I do not know what happens, and then I have to jump back in through the back door. But I do not know what's happening. I'm assuming it's because I'm hosting it and it's kicking me out. So I apologize for everybody for the inconvenience that I keep getting dropped off of this. But hopefully it'll sort itself out and we won't drop off 20 more times. But who knows? As long as Matt's staying on, though, Matt will carry the way for. I'm trying to get back on as fast as I can and not leave everything in the lurch. Another team for you. We'll do this and I'll get kicked off again. Penn State. Penn State is another team a lot of people are projecting to have a national championship hope this year. That this is Drew Aller coming back. They were really good last year, playoff team last year. Is this the year that we see James Franklin get into the conversation of an elite coach and can win the big one and they get over the hump? Does all of that happen this year? Have they put it all together with the running game, the passing game, all of it comes together? Or is this still Penn State that's still a little bit of a little brother to the Ohio States, Michigans, maybe Oregons, and maybe right out of that group?
I'm buying Penn State. I think they're the best team in the Big Ten. I think James Franklin's finally going to break through this year, and I think they're probably going to make a serious playoff push. In fact, in my college football playoff predictions for that we did earlier, I have them in the semifinal against Clemson, and then Clemson knocking them off to play Texas in the national title. So I'm buying it. It'll all hinge on Drew Aller. I think if he takes a step forward, then I really think that they have a good chance to even play for a national title. But if he's kind of the same quarterback that they've had over the last couple years, then I think that you're going to have an issue there. But they have the best running game in college football. So I think that's going to carry them, as far as they need to go, at least until they get into the meat of the college football playoff.
All right. How about your favorite team, Auburn? These guys, great coach, great quarterback. Things going the right way for Auburn. A lot of people think this team is going to be much better this year. The basic premise is they had a lot of close games last year. They lost. And the same way we talk about the Bengals in the NFL being a team that lost a lot of close games. Well, if that swings the other way around, then Auburn, is a 3 or 4 loss team last year, and then they're going to get it better this year. I'm on sell. I assume you're on sell on this one too.
Yeah, I mean, look, they have a scumbag for a coach. who I think is an incredibly overrated coach. He's never won anything meaningful in his coaching career, so I don't think that's going to start now. They made a really good offseason addition with Eric Singleton at wide receiver. He was the number 1 wide receiver in the transfer portal, and that was a huge win for them. But then they brought in a quarterback who lost his job at Oklahoma to a true freshman. So I don't really have any faith in it. Is he going to be a better fit in Hugh Freeze's system than he was in Oklahoma? Probably, but it's difficult for me to buy into a quarterback who couldn't keep his job at his old school, and then to put that guy on another team in the same conference that he couldn't win in and expect him to elevate you to a playoff contender. That's really difficult for me to buy. So I'm selling them 100%. In fact, I would not be shocked if Jackson Arnold loses that job at some point in this season to true freshman Deuce Knight, who was, for my money, the best college football or the best high school quarterback in America last season, not named Bryce Underwood. So that's something to watch out for sure.
All right, couple more teams for you, Matt, before we'll take our break. What about this Arizona State team?
I'll buy Arizona State. I think I think they're going to have a harder time this year because they don't have Cam Scadaboo.
Yeah,
but returning Sam Leavitt, I think, is huge for them. I really like their head coach. They're returning, a lot of the players off of that college football playoff team last year. So I'll buy them. All
right, Texas A&M.
I think they had a really good offseason. I really do. I think they had one of the best off seasons in the SEC. They really, really did a lot for that wide receiver core. They returned 3 really good running backs. I think Marcel Reed's going to take a step forward. I just don't think they're at the upper echelon of the SEC quite yet. So I don't think that they'll make the playoff. I think they have a chance, but they'll have to beat Texas at the end of the year for that to happen. And I don't think they're going to do that.
All right. And finally, this team that's really hot right now, everyone's talking about them, Texas Longhorns.
Buy. They're going to win the national title next year.
I think I have a buy on that one as well. Look, it would be a big shock if OU shocked the college football world. It would be a big shock if the Sooners are able to be in the SEC title hunt at the end of the season. It's just tough. They have a tough enough schedule. It's just hard. It's nothing that's not even really a shot at them. It's just it's a tough schedule, and they weren't that good last year. So it's hard to believe that they're going to overnight jump into, a 1 or 2 loss team. That feels unrealistic. But I think they'll be better than they were last year. It's just a question of, is that enough in the SEC to have a 2-loss season, or is it a 3 or 4 loss season? And that's at the end of the day where we'll see how much growth they actually have. But I'm not sold on it. And yeah, well, the worst QB play, but that guy's in Auburn now, and people think he's going to be great in Auburn. So I think Jackson Arnold's going to be great over there. Let's take a break now. Actually, you know what? Let's get into some NBA talk real quick. We'll get into NBA, and then we'll go into the break because it was another fun game last night in the NBA. And shout out all these people listen to plays. I appreciate you. I'm going to write all these down when we take a break. So I can go through and add them to my list and see which ones I don't have. And then I will send a list to Matt tonight or tomorrow morning. And then we'll get our list all set up for tomorrow's show of what we have together. So we know that we'll have a real comprehensive list of the best plays of Texas the last 25 years, because this list that ESPN put out, I don't stand by the fact that Texas is in it 3 times and only one of them is fun. 2 of them not fun. So I don't like that very much, that 2 of them are not fun. Right now, the Pacers get a big win in Game 3 of the Western Conference or the NBA Finals against Oklahoma City. It was another fun game to watch, but this one, the power shifted back to the Pacers a lot. That, Game 1 felt like it was OKC's game, and the Pacers stayed in it, had the surge at the end. Game 2, OKC it was their game. They played it the way they wanted. They handled business. They were able to walk away with a win that was never really in doubt. And in game 3, it went back and forth, but it really felt like the Pacers were controlling momentum a lot more in that game. Part of that is it's a home game. I think Rick Boucher had a really good point that he was able to – he basically pointed out role players play well at home. And if you play well at home, then it's going to help you out a lot more. And that was what the Pacers had. Their role players stepped up. Ben Mathurin had a game, and you knew he was going to have a game in this series because he's kind of done that in this playoffs, had one game. Then get a second one out of him, it'd be huge. But Ben Mathurin stepping up and, dropping 27 off the bench, 9 of 12 for field goal percentage, 7 of 8 from the free throw line, just really getting around and getting what he wants. Tyrese Halliburton was more aggressive to begin. Pascal Siakam has 21 points as well. We saw Miles Turner offensively struggle throughout this game, but defensively was in the right places and the effort was still there. But really, this came back down. Rick Carlisle's coaching was really good in this game, and he understood we have to push the pace on this Thunder team, and he felt that going to the bench earlier was going to help throw off what the Thunder wanted to do. So there's some other pieces and other little moves and minutia that he did that's really, a little bit more complex and really interesting stuff. But the main thing is that he was able to get to the bench a little bit earlier, have those guys come in and just wreak havoc on starters who weren't used to that happening to them. And the ball's just getting swatted around. TJ McConnell's playing out of his mind. TJ McConnell, Sean Miller guy, TJ McConnell playing out of his mind out there. It was a lot of fun to watch that. And then you just saw from that point on, when that bench first came in for the Pacers, OKC looked like they were out of sorts. They started to turn the ball over a bunch. And when they started to turn the ball over, it felt like they were not sure what they were doing anymore. They lost confidence so quickly, which young teams do. And the Pacers were able to just keep pushing and keep pushing. And then at the end of the game, when normally we've seen these teams be able to come back, the Pacers then, Rick Carlisle got on them and said, now we pretend we're down by 10. Pretend we're down. Play extremely aggressive basketball. Don't hold the ball. We saw multiple times down the end, they scored when they could have held the ball for another 10 seconds or so just to take the points and say, we'll go play defense, but we got to score. We have to keep scoring to push the envelope against this team. I thought it was a great effort by the Pacers and a great adjustment by Rick Carlisle.
Yeah, and what we talked about yesterday, Patrick, Rick Carlisle is, of all the NBA head coaches, he is among the best at adjusting to the way that the series is going. He'll take that loss, he'll learn from it, he'll adjust, and then they'll play better in the next game. That's what they've been doing this whole playoff. I thought they did a great job of withstanding the early barrage from Oklahoma City. They in the first quarter down by 8, but then they push it. They don't let it affect them. They come out and they outscore OKC 40-28 in the second quarter. So, it was just, and they did the same thing in the fourth quarter when Oklahoma City kind of got back into it, and it was a closer game. Then they blew it up in the fourth quarter. They did a great job of pushing the pace and scoring. And obviously that game for Benedict Mathurin was huge with 27, but the aggressive from Tyrese Halliburton and Pascal Siakam was also huge for them, because that's another thing we talked about yesterday from the previous game is those are your best players. And Tyrese Halliburton needs to be the best player on the floor. Pascal Siakam needs to carry his weight as well. Especially when Miles Turner is having trouble offensively, Pascal Siakam really needs to step up, and I thought he did a great job of that. So, huge win for the Pacers. Now you really have the home court advantage over Oklahoma City for the rest of this series, because you got that first game in OKC. So if you get 2 more here in Indiana, then you're good.
Yeah, and we could look too at Alex Caruso of everybody anointing him as the guy, and he's going to be great. He got flustered in this game. He had, he turned the ball over. He was 2 of 5 shooting. He was still 2 of 2 from 3, but at 18 points, he had a minus 15 in the plus minus, though. Just not effective defensively like he had been in some other games. And I think, like, if you look at some of the bench players that are really big in this game, Obi Toppin, the more you watch him in this game and just the impact he has on these plays that look dead, and he makes a big comeback and he makes splash plays. So the guy's playing 28 minutes and he only has 8 points. You don't necessarily think this guy is dominating. He goes 0 for 3 from 3 in this game, where he was shooting great threes in game 1 that helped him win. He's just doing a bunch of different little things. And when he plays well and he's able to be effective and make splash plays, everyone on Indiana plays better. He had a plus 18 plus minus in this game. Plus minus is not always a great indicator, but it's a fun one to look at sometimes when you watch a guy and you go, I think that guy had a positive impact on the game, and his plus minus is huge. Or you see somebody and go, I don't think his impact was very good. You see that, like, because you look at that, like Lou Dort is another guy, and he's a starter, but Lou Dort has really been playing great basketball for OKC. He's probably been one of their more consistent players across the board, because even we saw SGA kind of get confused at points yesterday and not be able to play as well last night. I think that when you see what this team does, they're going to respond. We know OKC will respond in game 4, but this is, can Indiana at home get one more really big game from their bench? Because we assume OKC's bench probably is still not going to recover fully until they go back to OKC and they get that rejuvenation and that feeling good on your own home court again. So can Indy's bench still do it? And then you say, well, we're going to go try and get that game, to win the series. We need to rely on Tyrese Halliburton, Pascal Siakam, some of these more star players. Miles Turner needs to play better. But if this bench can help them get to another win at home, because now you're looking at it saying 3-1 series lead, home court advantage still firmly in Indiana's hand going back to OKC. That is a very different finals than 2-2 going back to OKC. Home court advantage swinging back to Oklahoma City. And you could say, well, now we're just trading games and that'll still win because the Pacers won game 1. But you don't want to play that if you're Indy. You have to come out and figure out a way to basically make the changes before they get there. If you're Rick Carlisle, you are playing chess right now, trying to be a few steps ahead of Mark Dagnall in this OKC team, because, just putting in your subs a little bit earlier isn't going to work in game 4 the way it worked in this one. We know that the officials are going to be watching a TJ McConnell a lot more. We saw Chet Holmgren. And TV says Chet S. He didn't play well down the stretch. He hasn't played well down the stretch in most of these games. He still had a 2010 game. 20 points and 10 rebounds. So you can't necessarily say he's completely trash. He wasn't effective down the stretch. He missed a lot of threes. He's definitely not a veteran by any stretch of the imagination. And he made mistakes down the end. And that's when he got tired as well. He looked completely gassed at the end of that game. He was falling over and over again and looking to the ref to say, bail me out. That's how you know somebody's tired. So now you only get one day off in between instead of the bigger break. You have to keep pushing the pace. I know you have to keep saying, because that's how they play. It would be nicer if they played a different style of game that wasn't so derived on, we need to score over 110. We need to push the pace of this game. But that's what this Pacers team does.
Yeah. I mean, if they can get this game tomorrow night, which I think they'll have a really good shot to do, being that it's in Indiana, and I think their bench will have a chance to play extremely well. I don't necessarily think Benedict Matherin's going to go for 27 again, but I think that you'll probably get a big performance from somebody else, like an Obi Toppin, or potentially TJ McConnell, or even Aaron Nesmith, stepping up and getting into double figures and having a bigger game. Like something like that, I think is going to happen. And I think they have a really, really good shot here in game 4. And if they can go up 3-1 heading back to OKC, it's going to be real, real tough for OKC to win 3 in a row. It really, really tough. Because at that point, your backs are against the wall. You're feeling a little tight. You don't get to necessarily play your game as much, because no more mistakes. You can't afford any mistakes at this point, because you're just one loss away from blowing this thing. So I really like the Pacers' chance here. I really, really hope they bring it home too. I'm really pulling for the Pacers.
Yeah, they're just so much fun to watch. And it is like, the more you're going to watch this team, the stuff they do is just, it's really interesting, because they play a style of offense that if it's not like, if you're not familiar with what they're doing, like if you tried to join this team in a midseason trade, it would go poorly. There's reasons why he has to like kind of train guys for a year to get into this system, because they don't abide by the rules of normal basketball, of clearing space. They don't clear space all the time. They'll run guys past guys with basketballs, and they'll run guys past screens, and they'll do all this weird stuff to create confusion on switches. Because switches have gotten so popular in basketball, they really create confusion on those switches, and you see it lead to wide open shots and wide open layups because guys get flat-footed trying to figure out, there's 3 players here now. Who am I supposed to be guarding? I don't know who we're switching on to who, instead of having the normal pick and roll where there's 2 guys and you go switch. If a third guy runs through, who the hell is guarding anybody anymore? And they've been able to do that so well. That creates a lot of turnovers we saw in game 1, but it also is allowed, if you play it well, you're able to cause chaos on a defense, and they've just done that really well. They also are one of the best fast break teams. They turn layups into layups on the other side as well as any team you've ever seen. It's amazing because, you know, OKC's celebrating on one side of the court because they just got an easy bucket, and while they're still turning around, the ball's past half court and going downhill for another bucket on the other side. And if you're OKC, you just go, we just traded points, but all of our effort was on ours, and they just made it look easy. That was like Russell Westbrook used to do that back in the day, where you get caught sleeping. This whole Pacers team is really good at it. They push the ball like very few people do. So I'm excited to watch game 4 on Friday and see if OKC can fight back in this. I'm rooting for the Pacers too. They've just been so much fun to watch. This Thunder team, it feels, I don't know, because they're young, but they're just not like, they play good defense. They just don't feel as exciting as the Pacers do. Just really not at all. And they're both young teams that are very homegrown, and a lot of things are similar. But I just tell you, this Pacers team seems like they're creating things a lot more than OKC, which is much more of SGA's the dude. He'll be able to find people. Jalen Williams has got to step up too. He's been a really good player for them. He had 26 last night. But, you know, like, you need a really big game out of him in one of these, because especially on the road, that role players are just not doing it on the road for them right now. So they got to figure that out. Why don't we take a break here, Matt? We'll hope that I don't get kicked off again. I'm going to write down some of these great plays that you guys have been throwing into the chat. We will come back. We will get into some NFL talk on the other side as we keep rolling along here on Open Gym here on Texas Sports Unfiltered.
Hi, I'm Dan Covert with my wife Hayden. Welcome to Covert BK.
Our newest location in the gorgeous Hill Country includes Buick, GMC, Cadillac, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram, and hundreds of pre-owned and certified vehicles for you to choose from. We have 3 service departments that are ready to take care of your car, truck, or SUV with 86 service bays to accommodate any repair and get you in and out quickly. Come visit us today to select the vehicle you've been dreaming about.
Covert, born and raised in Austin.
Hi, this is Tom McKay, owner of Audiovisual Consultations.
I got this, Dad. This is Camilla McKay, and my dad can help with any TV or stereo needs you have around your house. Just call him, and he will come to you with advice and a great price. And the guys that work for him are awesome. They can install anything, anywhere. So, like my dad says, just relax and smile. We handle all the work.
So just give us a call at 255-8678 or on the web at avconsultations.com.
Say hello to Jason and the gang over at Relax the Back. They embrace a holistic approach for a healthier lifestyle based on 35 years, folks, of proven expertise, and my back couldn't be happier. Their motto is live wellness, and folks, they can transform your routine, your daily routine, into something very, very special if you have back pain. If you're struggling with thoracic problems, if you've got hip problems, if you've got lumbar problems, please go over to one of their stores. They got 2 great locations, and find out a chair or a recliner or a sofa that's going to fit you and going to make your life a whole lot better. I've got this office chair right here that I've been sitting in for years, and I love it. 2 locations, folks, at the Hill Country Gallery across from Whole Foods, and in North Austin at the Gateway Shopping Center across from the Container Store. Live pain-free like the buck at Relax the Back.
SendTexTickets.com. If you're in the market for tickets to any sporting event, any concert, any Broadway show, anything live coming to town, you got to head over to SendTexTickets.com. The best seats to all of the biggest events, not just here in Austin, but all over the state and all over the country as well. It's so easy to use. Just log on your phone or computer to SendTexTickets.com. All of their tickets are 100% guaranteed, and they will be delivered right to your phone or computer. So simple to use, and you're also helping to support a local business every time you shop. SendTexTickets.com. So if you want to be at the biggest events in sports and entertainment, there's only one place to go. It's SendTexTickets.com.
Back here on Open Gym on Texas Sports Unfiltered as we roll along here on a Thursday afternoon. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us amid the technical difficulties. Myself, Patrick Davis, alongside Matt Galatzan from Texas Longhorns on SI. Just talk some NBA, talk some college football as well. Wanted to get into some talk about the NFL as training camps are wrapping up right now. I wanted to get your opinion, Matt, on some possible teams that could get into the playoffs this year that were not in the playoffs last year. So there's 18 teams that did not make the playoffs last year in the NFL, and I wanted to get your opinion on the odds, basically, of your thoughts of what teams are most likely to get back in to the playoffs, or what teams do you not believe have any shot of getting back into the playoffs this year. We'll start. Let's see if we can find a team here on my list of teams that is off. That's a good starting point for us, because we don't think the Giants are going to get back in.
No.
We don't think the Browns get back in.
No.
We don't think the Jets do. We don't think the Saints do. We don't think the Patriots do. We don't think the Raiders do. We don't think the Colts do. We don't think the Titans do. I'll start you off with the Carolina Panthers. Carolina Panthers are in a winnable division. I want you to remind, they're in a winnable division. They are growing. Dave Canales has a good track record with quarterbacks. Bryce Young started to show signs of life. They now have Ted McMillan added to a roster that is continuing to grow weapons. JT Sanders in year 2 there. We know that Chuba Hubbard was stepping up as an actual running back in form last year as well. Things starting to click on that Panthers offense a little bit more, maybe put some things together. Is there any chance the Panthers are able to figure out that division at least and win 9 games and have a chance to make a playoff?
I don't think so. I think they're going to be close, and I think they're going to be much improved, but I just don't think that they're quite there yet. I think they're too young offensively. It'll all hinge on Bryce Young. If he takes a big step forward, then they'll have a chance. And I do think he's going to take a step forward. I just don't know that it's going to be enough to propel them into the playoffs. If he takes a major step and he becomes, one of the top 15 quarterbacks in the NFL by the end of the season, then I think they do make the playoffs. I just don't know that is a realistic outcome.
No, I'm not. I think they're still a year away too. I think in a year, if they continue the progress, I think they could be a 7-8 win team this year, get themselves back into consideration. I just don't think that's going to be enough to win the division. And so even if you are a 6-7-8 win team, that's improvement for what the Panthers have been. They're on the right track, but you still probably got to add a couple more pieces, especially if Jonathan Brooks is ever able to come back and be a part of that team again. He could be somebody that's special to help that run game a little bit more. But just adding on a few more pieces would probably help them out. What about the Chicago Bears, Matt? Chicago Bears now add Ben Johnson, who, at least as a fan's perspective, is probably the most exciting coach hire they've had recently. They normally hire for defense. They're hiring for offense this time. They're trying to get Caleb Williams to work. They spent a bunch on that offensive line. They have DeAndre Swift. How much that'll matter if he's able to get him to play better football, that is a big piece of the conversation. What are you able to get out of Romeo Odunze out there? DJ Moore is on that team. You have a couple really good tight ends as well. What do you do with having two really good tight ends on your roster? How do you put that together? Is Chicago a team that in a tough division, can they find a way to win some games and get to the playoffs?
If they were in any other division, I would say yes. But I don't think there's any way that the Lions or the Packers miss the playoffs. I think that there's a scenario in which they have a better season than the Vikings, and that is if J.J. McCarthy is even worse than I anticipate him being. I think that could drive them down a lot, and maybe they'll be in a position at the end of the season next year. I mean, I'm going to look at their schedule real quick and see when they play the Vikings. But it's so they play the Vikings in the opener, so that'll be a huge one for them. And then they play them again in November on November 16th. So if they can sweep the Vikings, then I think they have a chance. Otherwise, it's going to be really tough. I think that they're still probably a year away from being a true playoff contender, but they've gotten a lot better, and they're going to cause some headaches next year for sure.
Yeah, the Ben Johnson factor is double in this, because how much is Ben Johnson going to be able to raise their stakes, and how much is losing Ben Johnson going to hurt the Detroit Lions? Like, so it's a double Ben Johnson take on this one, because if he's able to, if his absence to the Detroit knocks him down a few pegs, remember they're a 15-2 team last year. If that knocks him down a few pegs, then maybe that becomes a little bit more achievable. I think the Packers are going to be really good this year too, so it becomes a difficult push to get there. All right, how about we go with Seattle here? The Seattle Seahawks, are they a team that's going to be able to get going in their division and get going and get a chance for a playoff? I know you're not huge on Sam Darnold, but they brought in Cooper Kupp. They're trying to get a few things going. They're not a bad team. They were 10-7 last year and just missed the playoffs. So they were right on the edge last year. Is there a chance that they will find a way to make this work and win a division that is, it was not over the top. They tied with the Rams division-wise and lost out. Is there a chance?
I think there's a chance, but Sam Darnold has to be the Sam Darnold he was last year.
Yeah.
If he's the Sam Darnold he was last year, then they have a chance. I just don't know if it's a great one. Like, I think that there's probably 3 teams in the NFC who have a chance to make the playoffs last year after missing last year. I just don't know that they're one of them, man. It's hard for me to see unless Sam Darnold can continue his progression and be a legitimate top 15, top 20 NFL quarterback. Cooper Kupp seems like kind of a downgrade from DK Metcalf. I don't know. I'm not buying it. I just can't put myself I can't rationalize it in my head.
No, it does feel like there's some other teams in that division who are going to be more on the up than Seattle, who maybe is trying to wait him one more year and see where they're at. And, if Sam Darnold's there, but it feels like he's a bridge guy. Cooper Kupp seems like it seems like they have a lot of bridges, and you're not usually making the playoffs with a bunch of bridges. All right. This is an interesting one. The Arizona Cardinals. Arizona, if they could stay healthy, if, we know Kyler Murray's been okay. Marvin Harrison Jr. improved last year. His holdout definitely was an impact. He wants to show that he is really the guy at wide receiver. They're trying to improve that team a little bit more and a little bit more each year. Is this a year that Arizona, who was 8-9 last year, can bump up 3 more wins and get to an 11-win team and possibly compete in that division, compete for a playoff spot?
I don't think so. Jonathan Gannon is still the coach there, right?
Yes.
Okay. So they've had 2 years of Jonathan Gannon. It hasn't really worked out so far. They did improve. They were 4-13 in his first year, 8-9 in his second year. So that's a marked improvement. I just don't buy Kyler Murray. I really don't. I think he spends too much time in his offseason playing Call of Duty. And I think that he's, among the more. I think he's a good fantasy football quarterback. I don't think he's a winning NFL quarterback. So I'm going to sell them. Like the Seahawks, obviously they're in the same division. It's not the toughest division in the world, so they'll have a shot. But I don't know that they're really gonna make a push with Kyler Murray at quarterback. And look, maybe Marvin Harrison Jr. turns into the Marvin Harrison Jr. that we expected him to be coming out of Ohio State, and he's just an absolute animal and running roughshod over the whole NFL. But unless that happens, I just don't think they have enough firepower outside of that to make a legitimate push.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for them to really get going this season and get over that hump, because it doesn't feel like they added a ton. They added some on defense. They brought in Walter Nolan from Ole Miss. They brought in Will Johnson, who had the injury concern, so he slipped. They brought in Jordan Bush in the 3rd round from Oregon, so they focused a lot on this defense. They drafted one offensive player in the draft. They really focused on trying to get this defense up for Jonathan Gannon to try and get him a little bit aside. I think Kyler Murray healthy is a good pick. One of the big issues they had was getting the ball in the end zone last year. I don't know if they're going to be able to figure that one out either. I know that Trey McBride did help me win my championship in college and fantasy football. So I do like Trey McBride a lot. Just solid pick last year. But I agree with you. I don't know in that division if they're able to put it together enough. And I don't see him getting above 11 wins. Like, even on the best day, 11 wins is a really good season for them. And I don't know if that's enough in that conference to get him into the playoffs. What about Miami now? Miami has been right around it. They were not in the playoffs last year, but they've been right around the playoffs several times, getting in and then not having the right guys to get any wins. Not being healthy has been a huge factor for this Miami team. They were 8-9 last season. Not a great season for Miami. Tyreek Hill had his worst year by far. Part of that is the injuries to the quarterback, and he had some injuries as well. Are they able to put this back together? We both are big Mike McDaniel fans, but does this come together that they're able to get back in? They're probably not going to win the division. Buffalo is really good, but you can beat the Jets. You can beat the Patriots. You can get in there. You can get to an 11-win season, and are they good enough to get to that 11, 12-win season?
I think they're good enough. But here's what it comes down to for me. So of all of the, and it's kind of the same in the NFC, but for the sake of the AFC talk here, I think that there's probably going to be one team from the AFC who made the playoffs last year who's not going to be in it this year.
Okay.
And then they're going to be competing with probably, let's say, 2 other teams for that spot. And I just don't think that they're better than one of the other teams that I think we're going to talk about here in a minute. So will they be able to compete? Yes. Will they be a good team? Yes. I think it's probably going to be a situation where they get to 10-7, and then they're right on the cusp, but then they lose in some kind of a tiebreaker or something like that. I don't think that they have enough to get to 11-6 or 12-5 or anything above that. So
yeah,
would I like to see it? Absolutely. I think Mike McDaniel really needs to make the playoffs this season. Even though if he doesn't, I still don't think they should fire him, but there's going to be noise if he doesn't make it. So I would like to see them make it. I just don't think that they're going to be quite there yet.
I think if they're healthy, they can get there. That's the reality. Is if they're healthy, I think they're there. I just don't know. There's no faith in them being healthy anymore. I mean, how many games is Tua going to miss this year? How many games are they going to have, at the running back position that they have injuries? They just haven't shown any ability to keep guys on the field, and they don't really add it. They had to get rid of some guys because of salary cap reasons as well. You got to have everybody playing as many snaps as they can. So I'll say they missed, but I don't think it's even talent-wise. I think it just injuries are killing this team. They have too many injury-prone players. Our next team missed the playoffs last year in a tough division. Maybe finish third in it. Dallas Cowboys find a way to get back in the playoffs with Brian Schottenheimer. Dak Prescott returning from injury.
Yes,
George Pickens.
I think they do, assuming Dak Prescott stays healthy. If Dak Prescott stays healthy, I think that So, and this is what I was talking about a minute ago with the Dolphins. I think that there's probably one team in the NFC who made it last year who's not going to make it this year. And for me, that's the Vikings. So I think that the Cowboys can, like, so the NFC North had 3 teams make it last year.
Yes.
I think that the NFC East is the team that has 3 teams make it this year. I think the Eagles, the Commanders, and the Cowboys all make it, assuming that Dak Prescott stays healthy, assuming that they can get this running game up to a semblance of something decent. And because I think George Pickens is going to have enough of an impact where their passing game is going to be elite and one of the best in the NFL. I think they made enough moves on the defensive side of the ball to kind of shore things up over there. So I'm going to buy that for sure. I'm not going to say that they're going to win the division, because I think that the Eagles and the Commanders are both much better set up to do that. But I don't think it's going to be the Eagles that win the division either, because the NFC East has not had a repeat division winner in like 10 or 15 years or something crazy like that. So, but the Eagles will still make it. They'll still be a prime Super Bowl contender. The Commanders, I think, probably win the division just because of the trade-off, but the Cowboys are going to make it.
All right. So you have the Cowboys making it in. I'm not as sold on this Cowboys team. I think they're right there. I think they're a 10-win team. I just don't know if that gets you in. That's kind of the issue. I think they're a 10-win team. They could be an 11-win team. I just don't know if you're the third team, if that gets you into the playoffs. If it does, then they could sneak in there. But I feel like there's going to be another team that is able to get 11 wins and I think they'll be right there. Let's put it that way. I think it'll be coming down to the stretch of the season and them having to win some big games. The George Pickens pickup is huge. I think adding Javonte Williams and Jaden Blue is going to be big for them. So I think they're going in the right direction. But I just don't know if overall they're going to be there. And really a lot of it goes down to what Dak Prescott does. So not even him being healthy, but do we get Dak Prescott, who is, looked more in the MVP picture? Or do we get Dak Prescott that looks like the guy who's vastly overpaid? And which Dak Prescott are you getting with Brian Schottenheimer and another new offense and, trying to change things up? How much of this is close to the things that worked to Mike McCarthy? How well do they work together? Adding George Pickens, are you able to keep him happy all season because you're hitting him with the ball? In that case, yeah, because if you win 12 games, you're in. It's just going to be tough if you say you have to beat the Commanders at least once. You're trying to beat the Eagles at least once, because if you say you're handed 4 losses from losing to the Commanders and Eagles twice, it's just hard to make the playoffs with those 4 losses. So you got to win some of the games in the division. That I think is going to be the hardest one for the Cowboys to get over. Can they win some of those games against a Dan Quinn who knows how to play them really well and knows this team? And an Eagles team that just is loaded. They're just really, really good. And they keep playing well. So that's tough. I'll say I don't necessarily see it because of the other teams in that division. But I think they're right there. I think they're right there. And it would not surprise me.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think you're right. I think that they will split with the Commanders.
Yeah.
It's going to be much more difficult to split with the Eagles. If they can do that, I think that they're a surefire playoff team, because if they do that, I think they're 11-6 and they're in. My prediction earlier this year was 10-7.
If they split with both of those teams, then all of a sudden you are not the worst team in the division. You know what I mean? No one can say, well, we beat the Giants twice. We beat both teams in the division. We split with both of them. You can't tell us we're that much worse than you. But if you are 0-4 against them and 2-0 against the Giants, then you're squarely the third team in that division. So they have to be able to win some of those games. You have to win games against better teams. That's what Schottenheimer's trying to get them to. I'm also, the Schottenheimer thing, I'm not fully sold on. It looks too good right now. It do you get what I'm saying? It looks too good, where I look at it and knowing what the Cowboys history is, knowing what everything is, not even really a shot at Brian Schottenheimer, but knowing how coaches' kids are and stuff. You're like, he's doing everything. It feels like wow, this guy's going to be a generational talent as a coach from what we're seeing him do. And you're like, something tells me he's playing the part more than he is really getting in there and getting this team where they need to be. And maybe he is. Maybe it is all real. But I think because it's the Cowboys and you've seen it too many times where the image that they're portraying is so good and you really get into it. I think there's something to be said that maybe that's why I'm a little bit more trepidatious of it, is I think that maybe there's a little bit of smoke with no fire with Brian Schottenheimer, that when the season comes and the going gets tough, it falls apart a little bit more, and all this good feelings and everything's going great, we're a big family and the culture is amazing, dies out a little bit more when you hit reality.
Yeah, no, I buy that. I'm not sold on Brian Schottenheimer either. I believe we're on the same page there. It does seem a little bit too good to be true at this point. So we'll see how it works out, but I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt just because I'm really, really tired of the old school Cowboys way, and I really want this to work.
All right. How about another team in a division that is winnable and has added more pieces, is really going for broke? The Atlanta Falcons. They're in a division that 10 games won last year with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They have now added 2 more pass rushers. They have tried to get this defense to play a little bit better. Bijan Robinson's there. Drake is there. Kyle Pitts, as for the time of recording, is still there. Michael Penix Jr. is part of the preseason hype that let's count OTA reps as this guy's going to be an all-time legend of a quarterback. He's starting to look like he's figuring it out a little bit more. Just has to be a good quarterback. He doesn't have to be a great quarterback because they have other pieces that are there. Is this Atlanta team have a real shot to win the NFC South and make a playoff run for the first time in a while?
I want to say yes for Bijan's sake, but I can't get myself there. I think it's all going to hinge on Michael Penix.
Yeah.
I think that if he has a really good year, then they have a really good chance. But I just don't. I think that there's only going to be one team from that division that makes the playoffs, and I think it's going to be Tampa Bay. Outside of that, I just can't see them really taking a step forward. Even though they added the 2 pass rushers, I just don't think they have enough on that defense. And Michael Penix is just a complete unknown at this point. Like it's one thing to be a Heisman Trophy finalist and play for a national title, but when you haven't done anything in the NFL, like there's plenty of Heisman, winners and national title quarterbacks that didn't do anything in the NFL. So until he can prove to me that he's a legitimate NFL quarterback and capable of being a scary NFL quarterback that you have to game plan for every week, then I'm not going to buy the Falcons.
No, I'm with you. It does feel there's Michael Penix felt like such a reach in the draft. It felt like they reached again to trade back into the first round, and the pick wasn't a reach, but what they gave to get the pick was a reach. That they're just, keep going over and over again to try and make this big move to get over a hump. And it's like, you're further than a hump away. Like you're not just one little thing. There's a lot of things that have been going wrong in Atlanta, and pretending that like each move, well, now we're good. I just don't know if that's the case. They're so invested in every little move they make. And it feels like maybe they're not quite there. I do think that there's a world where this works out for them. But I think, you trade Kyle Pitts. Who do you have at tight end now? You still need to have somebody there. And I don't know who they have if you get rid of Kyle Pitts. Or are you able to make Kyle Pitts finally work with Michael Penix? I think if you're able to do that, it really changes the outcome of what we can look at this Falcons team being. But it does just feel like they keep thinking they're a player short, and it's something more than just a player that they're missing. And I don't know if that's going to be able to do it. Now, Michael Penix is great, then fine. But, history would tell you you're not going to hit on that many quarterbacks in a draft. And we've already had Jaden Daniels be like historically good. We've had Bo Nix be really good. I mean, Caleb Williams looked better. Like there's the odds of you still being good at Michael Penix, just the odds are not there. Historically, the odds are not there for him to work out as a quarterback. Some of these guys normally flop. I know you're on the JJ McCarthy's going to flop bandwagon as well. But the belief would be some of these guys are not going to be as good as we think they're going to be. And we know Jaden Daniels is definitely not in that group.
Michael Penix, yeah. I have a hard time seeing it. I want to be wrong, though, because I really want Bijan to make a playoff push.
Yeah, I'd love to see that as well. Back over to the AFC. Team that made a big, bold move in the draft. They have hired a new coach. They've hired a new GM, even though he's 12 years old. Jacksonville Jaguars. They made a big move to go get Travis Hunter. They had some injury issues last year. They were 4-13, but that doesn't tell the whole story. This team felt like they should have been better last year than they were. Doug Peterson, it just fell apart on him in Jacksonville. They've tried to rebuild everything. Liam Cohen comes in. Trevor Lawrence is one of those guys that eye test you think is a little bit more there, but then if you just look at the numbers and what he's been able to do, he hasn't been. So you really wonder which Trevor Lawrence are you going to get? Are you going to get eye test Trevor Lawrence or the paper Trevor Lawrence? And, what are you able to make out of that? They have Brian Thomas Jr. They have Travis Hunter now in that wide receiver room. You look like you should be able to move the ball. They paid a bunch of money on the defensive end of the football, whether that's good moves or not. They paid a bunch of money. They brought in some decent players on that side. They overpaid for some of them, but they're some decent players. And, they're in a division where they can win some games. You should be able to win. You can win 2 against the Colts. You can win 2 against the Titans. You can get into that second spot, competing with the Texans, because the Texans are not necessarily great depending on what that offensive line is. I don't think you win that division over the Texans necessarily, but the Texans won it 10-7 last year. Can you get into that 10-11 range in the AFC, and is that enough for you to be able to maybe sneak into the playoffs for Jacksonville?
I think that they're going to be a much better team than they were last year. And I think that they're going to be the biggest threat to the Texans in the AFC South. I know that's probably not saying much considering the other 2 teams in that division. But I think they'll have a shot. I just don't know that I buy them over the other team that I think is going to make the playoffs from last year that didn't make it. I just, I would really, really like to see Trevor Lawrence have a good year because I think he's a much better quarterback than he's given credit for. I just think he has had the odds stacked against him, and I think that it's just been a terrible situation over there, and that has not helped his development. I think he's talented enough to make it work. And again, they have to protect him because he needs to stay healthy. But I think that they probably improve to like 9-8. 8-9, something like that. They take a big step forward, but I just don't think that they have enough to push for a playoff spot this year. The year after, 2026, absolutely, but I just don't quite see it yet.
No, I don't either, because I think, again, you're probably a 9-win team in Jacksonville, which is way better than you were last year, but you're right on that edge, maybe 9-10 wins, but and really a lot of it depends on the Texans. If the Texans are playing as well as we think they should play this year, then the window's not really open. If the Texans struggle, if CJ Stroud does not progress, if Nick Caley doesn't call plays well, and this offensive line falls apart completely again, then who knows? Because now the door is wide open in that division. And, you can win it 7-win team could win the division if everything just falls apart. But I think that's really your only shot is if the Nick Caley experiment completely fails. There is no backup plan. The offensive line falls apart. CJ Stroud gets sacked 16 times a game and everything in Houston goes apart. I don't think that'll happen, but I think if you're Jacksonville, that's what you're rooting for, to try and stay in this picture. All right. Couple more teams left here. And I think the odds of both of these are pretty drastically higher than a lot of the other ones we've talked about. Cincinnati Bengals. This is a team that, had some injury issues last year. They are right now not looking good in the media spotlight because they are refusing to pay players. They didn't look good before because they were refusing to pay players, and they finally paid them and paid them an astronomical amount of money. But they have spent a lot of money on that offense versus the defense. Trey Hendrickson is pissed off. Shamar Stewart is pissed off, left training camp today. It's like, guys, this isn't complicated. We just want you to change the language back to the way it was before this year. And they said, screw it. You know what? We think we have the leverage and you'll eventually sign. So we may lose a number 1 overall draft pick, but we'll ruin your career to do it. And that is very petty and very stupid because Shamar Stewart, technically, if he wanted to, could not sign his contract, sit out an entire year, and enter the draft again next year. That's what could happen. If this all goes the way that nobody thinks it should, that would be awful for Shamar Stewart as well. He is a defensive end that needs training, and taking a year off would not help that. But all that being said, for the Bengals to basically forfeit a draft pick because of some language you want to put in there, basically about voiding a contract, which isn't super important language. It's not like it's money. It's about money if this guy fails and then gets injured, basically, that you can get it out of your contract earlier. But that, like, to maybe lose a first-round pick over this. And then next year, you're not guaranteed. You try and stick it in there again. The next person go, I'm not coming either. You just never get a first-round pick again, guys. Sorry, because your front office is too stupid to realize this is an argument you're losing. And you're just going to ruin kids' lives over it because you have no conscience for this team. That's not looking good. Their defense is having problems. They got rid of Lou Anarumo, who was a hero for them. They got him to a Super Bowl a few years ago. They said he couldn't get it done, so now they've got a new defensive coordinator in there. They were 9-8 last year. They were really close. They lost a lot of one-score games, a lot of really close games. It still feels like this offense can get them to the playoffs. But, man, that is a rough road on this defense right now.
Yeah, it is. Listen, if they were in a different division, I would say this is going to be really tough. But I think that, considering that two teams from that division made it last year, the Ravens and the Steelers, I don't think the Steelers are going to make the playoffs this year.
Oh, come on, Aaron Rodgers. Guys, it's a block, right?
No, they're going to go like 4-13.
He went to a cookout at Mike Tomlin's house. He's definitely going.
That must work now. I just think that this offense is going to do enough for them to get them to the playoffs. I think they're going to outscore everybody they play almost for the most part. I think that they're going to have a better year than people are anticipating, and I think that that's just going to be enough. Like, I don't think that they're going to go. And when I say they're going to outscore everybody, I don't mean that they're going to win every game. I mean that in the aggregate, with points for and points against, I think that they're going to be much higher in points for than points against. I think they're going to lose some games, but I think they're going to win a lot of these one-score games that they lost last year because of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And I don't know. I don't think they're going to be a high seed in the playoffs necessarily. I don't think that they're going to win their division, but I think that they're probably 10-7 or 11-6 instead of 9-8 because they win a couple more of those one-score games, and I think that gets them in as like a 7 seed or a 6 seed or something like that.
Yeah, no, I can go with that. I think as much as they're going to have issues defensively, I think they win a couple more of those games still, and are able to figure it out enough. I don't think they have any shot in the playoffs because of how bad this defense is going to be. But I think they'll be able to figure it out enough if they stay healthy that they'll be able to get in. And our last team, they were 6-11 last season. They have rehired a defensive coordinator from the past. Their running back is back and healthy. They are looking like they're ready to go. They've signed their quarterback long-term. They're ready to get going on this side. Their left tackle, Trent Williams, has said that he expects to play into his 40s. So no worry there at left tackle. He's going to be there for a while. The San Francisco 49ers. Vegas's best odds to make it back into the playoffs for a team that did not make it last year is San Francisco. This team was running as they're not a dynasty because they weren't winning the big one, but they were constantly in the picture for winning a Super Bowl year after year. And then it fell off of a cliff. Injuries, everything started to fall apart for them. They've now got rid of Deebo Samuel, who Deebo Samuel doesn't look like he's in the best of shape coming into OTAs and everything in Washington, which is not hugely surprising, but that's the reason why they were just kind of done with that whole experiment. They do need some young guys to step up for them. But if Christian McCaffrey can be able to play, if Brock Purdy takes another step forward, This 49ers team is in a winnable division in the NFC West. They've won it plenty of times. I think we're both high on the Rams. I think we both think the Rams are going to be pretty good this season. But they were decent last year in 10-7. I think they're better than the Cardinals. They're better than the Seahawks. So this 49ers team, do they have enough to get into the playoffs?
I think it all hinges on Christian McCaffrey staying healthy, which I can't bring myself to buy that at this point. There's just been too much there. I mean, they're going to have to get a Saquon Barkley 2024 performance out of Christian McCaffrey, I think, to make the playoffs, especially considering the fact that they lost Deebo Samuel. I know that, people are really high on Ricky Pearsall. They still got George Kittle, and, they're bringing back Brock Purdy, and they still got Trent Williams. So they're going to have a shot. I think that they're probably going to have to win the division to make it, though.
Yeah, I think they could have to win the division as well. I think it's very possible for them. I'm with you. Christian McCaffrey is really the big question for this team. Is Christian McCaffrey still the same guy after having all the issues he had last season? Is he still the same guy? Are they able to, recreate the advantages Deebo Samuel gave them with some other players? Are they able to, figure out those types of moves? I think those are the big questions you have to look at. Is the defense going to be able to be fit back to where it was? Robert Saleh is coming back, but that defense is not the same team it was a few years ago. They've lost a lot of players trying to figure out salary cap space. So there's multiple questions you still have about this 49ers team. But that being said, there's questions about this Rams team as well. So it's not like we can say the Rams are so built for everything, they're ready to go. We just think, okay, they have some of in prime positions, they have the players they need to have. But there's still questions across there. Did you see the video of Jared Verse? Speaking of the Rams, Jared Verse, did you see all the videos of him challenging what's his name? The defensive lineman, the best defensive lineman like the last 10 years. I can't think of his name. Played for them. Aaron Donald. He was challenging Aaron Donald. Jared Verse was a rookie that got drafted last year for the Rams, played really well. He was challenging Aaron Donald and basically said there was some video of Aaron Donald doing some huge bench press or something, or he was some huge squat. And he was like, yeah, doing the old man workout. We'll see how we work out. Aaron Donald is notorious for his workouts. They are apparently like superhuman. There was a story that Aaron Donald once, there was like a kid who was like a Make-A-Wish kid or something.
I was just about to bring this up. Yeah.
And he was making him puke by doing workouts with him.
Yeah.
So there's stories about his workouts that are crazy, and he is notorious hard on him. But Jared Verse and him went back and forth on doing it, and finally Verse went to go do the Aaron Donald workout, and it's just Aaron Donald still doing the workout, and Jared Verse sitting on a bench like, good Lord. So he knows. I mean, he went through and saw it. But you don't always get players like that, like Aaron Donald. So Jared Verse is gonna be a good player, but it's not quite the same thing. It was just a fun thing I saw the other day. Was Verse being pretty cocky about it, and like, oh, you don't know what we do now, and they're like, don't challenge Aaron Donald. That's the wrong guy to say the old man workout.
You want to be like AD, you got to work out like AD. That's never challenge the GOAT, man. That's like back in the day, Michael Jordan when he's 50, taking the second team Bobcats roster and then beating the starters in a pickup game. Don't challenge the GOAT, man. That's never a good idea.
All right. I want to get into something else. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, so I'm going to go down the 7 teams that I have in each conference making the playoffs then.
I like it.
And you can tell me which one that you would switch out if it was you, okay?
Okay.
And this isn't seeded from 1 to 7. These are just the 7 teams that I have making it. So I have in the NFC the Commanders, the Rams, the Eagles, the Bucks, the Packers, the Lions, and the Cowboys. And then in the AFC, I have the Chiefs, the Bills, the Ravens, the Texans, the Chargers, the Broncos, and the Bengals.
Yeah, the AFC seems pretty right. The NFC, I think, run through those NFC teams again for me.
Commanders, Rams, Eagles, Bucks, Packers, Lions, Cowboys.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Cowboys. That's the most questionable one. I think they'll be better. I think they're gonna, but there's just so many questions still around that team. Like how, and I get Dak Prescott was out last year. They would have been better, but with the Commanders being good, that really throws a wrench in things because they, when it was them and the Eagles, you could split with the Eagles and then win 3 or 4 of those other games every year. So you're talking about 4 to 5 wins a year in your division. And now you're talking about 2 to 3 is a big swing. It's just a big swing. Now they should have an easier schedule because of finishing lower last year and being third in their division. It should make it technically a slightly easier schedule because you'll be playing third place teams. I don't know how it actually worked out, but
I think they have the 5th toughest strength of schedule in the NFL.
They should have had an easier schedule because they finished third the way it's supposed to work. But that depends because like if the Bengals finish third, then you're in that same bracket and the Bengals are good. So, you never know where you're going to end up, but that's probably a team that I'd be most questionable about. I'm probably a little bit more bullish on the 49ers than the Cowboys because they're in a more winnable division. And, again, you're talking about 2 or 3 game swing there. And so because there's not a team in the 49ers division they can't beat. And the Cowboys can beat the Eagles for sure. It just feels like those are really much harder games right now. And maybe once we see what Brian Schottenheimer puts out on the field, I'll feel better about it. But the Cowboys never felt like they were world beaters. They felt like they were teams that could beat the teams they're supposed to beat, but aren't able to get over the hump. And the Texans are very much that as well. The Texans have very much fallen into, we are good enough to beat everybody we're supposed to beat, but we can't beat the Chiefs. We can't beat the Bills. We can't beat the Ravens. And so I think that, you just fall into that level of team where maybe coaching, I definitely give Kyle Shanahan the edge in coaching to say he might be able to figure out a way to get, closer to winning some of those games with the experience they have. But again, a lot of that rides on CMC. Just like the Cowboys rides on Dak. Which Dak are you going to get? What does Brian Schottenheimer get out of Dak? Because that guy gets paid a lot of money. Both those guys make good money for their position. They better step up and get it done.
Yeah, I'll buy that. We'll circle back to this at the end of the NFL season and see who was right and who was wrong. Well, yeah, odds are both of us will probably be totally wrong. So,
well, because and there will be injuries, there will be surprises, all of that will happen as well. So, no one had Washington stepping up with Jaden Daniels and all of a sudden making a run last season. So who knows? Speaking of Jaden Daniels, I wanted to talk a little bit too while we have a few more minutes left in the show about some NFL MVP dark horses. I saw an article about this that I thought was pretty interesting, and it basically goes into the simple fact of NFL MVP at this time is mostly a quarterback award. Mm-hmm. So it's really hard for anybody else to win it. And when you look at the odds for winning, the Vegas odds for winning it, your first, 20, 25 people in the odds are quarterbacks. Like Bryce Young has better odds than Jahmyr Gibbs.
That's crazy.
To win MVP. It's just like they're not going to give it to not a quarterback. So quarterbacks have better odds. But I'm just saying. So it is kind of a weird experiment to say dark horses of who could win MVP other than a quarterback. And some quarterbacks we can throw in there as well as dark horse quarterbacks. If you have a list of some guys, but we'll throw out the top 4 guys right now for best odds of winning the MVP are no surprise. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, and Patrick Mahomes. There is no surprise. That is your top 4 most likely winners of the MVP award. Once we get past that, then we start to go down a little bit more. So let's get into some of the more dark horses that are not in your top 4 people that could get it. Let's just start with quarterbacks. And then we'll get into the other positions that maybe could be possible winners. Do you have any other quarterbacks who could be dark horse MVP candidates?
I mean, all 4 of my guys are quarterbacks.
Okay.
So I'll start with Jordan Love.
All right.
I think that if he has a really good season and he wins that division, then he's going to have a really good shot. And there's not another, like there's not another. All 4 of the top guys that have the best odds to win are in the AFC, at least on the DraftKings one that I'm looking at. So he's one of four other NFC quarter. Oh, okay, I'm look. If the Packers have a good of a season as I think they're capable of having, if they go 13-4 or something like that, they win that division. Not necessarily convincingly, but they win that division with like a week to go in the season, and he throws for 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns or something like that. I think he's going to have a really good shot.
Yeah, I do. I like Jordan Love too because it is one that. And I know Matthew Golden, we're hoping steps into that role to be the wide receiver one, but there isn't like a guy you could put it on. Like that's kind of always something that's Josh Allen used last year. Lamar Jackson has used it. Patrick Mahomes has used it he has Travis Kelce, but that wide receiver one that people want to see. And if you don't necessarily have that wide receiver one, then people maybe jump a little bit more onto, okay, that guy is finding a way to win and he's really hitting his receivers. So look how valuable he is, because it's not like Sam Darnold throwing to Justin Jefferson, where Justin Jefferson is going to get most of the line share of credit on that. You can put it back on Jordan Love. So I like that one a lot. Jordan Love, I believe, is right around seventh, basically seventh in MVP odds right now, right around there, depending on which sports book you're at. Who else you got? What other guys you got on your list?
So I'll go with the next one I'm going to go with is Matthew Stafford.
Okay.
He's got two legit wide receivers now. He's got a really good tight end. He has a really good running game. So if, we're talking about it in the context of what you were just talking about, which is a quarterback doing more with less, then he doesn't necessarily have that to his advantage. But I think that we're going to see a Matthew Stafford this year that probably has the best season he's had since his Super Bowl run. So if they're as good as I think they're going to be, which is I think they're probably the number 2 seed in the NFC next year, he's going to have a really good shot because he's going to have them as a Super Bowl contender going into the playoffs.
I see that. I just don't like. I like it as a dark horse. I know you're a Matt Stafford guy. I just don't see Matt Stafford having that season. I think he'll be a good player again. I think he'll win games. But I think this is a 10-11 win, for a Rams team, and adding Devontae Adams is going to be good, but it's not unless Puka Nacua has a insane season. I don't think he'll necessarily have the numbers to really push himself back up that conversation because he's so far out of the conversation now. He has to go back into it, where Jordan Love is kind of a new guy jumping in. It's more exciting to jump into that conversation. Matt Stafford walks in the room. They're like, whatever, old man, get out of here. We don't. So I like it. I think that he's in the conversation of, I don't know. I'm not buying it as a full dark horse. Like, they're all dark horses, so they're all somewhat of a long shot. But I like that. I like what Matt Stafford is going to do this year. I just don't think that their approach is necessarily going to be stat driven enough that he's going to be able to get in that conversation where he's going to have people go, but he's got the second highest completion percentage and the highest touchdown percentage and all of those. I'm not sure if he'll have those numbers to back it up enough to get him really firmly in that conversation. I don't know if they'll have enough wins to do it on the other end too. I think he'll be just below it, kind of still in that tier of like, oh, this guy's an awesome quarterback, but we're just going to be an unsung hero guy at this point.
Okay. Well, I disagree, but
no, yeah. Hey, that's why we have the show, man.
That's why we have the show. My next one is Justin Herbert.
Okay.
And this kind of hinges on if he can knock off the Chiefs and win that division. If he does that, which is a long shot, don't get me wrong, that's why he's a dark horse. But I think you're going to see the best. You're finally going to see the best version of Justin Herbert. I think he's going to put up crazy numbers, and they're going to make the playoffs, and they're going to be really competitive in that division. If they knock off the Chiefs and win that division, then I think he has a chance at winning the MVP.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. By the way, I'll throw out this too to help you out some, Matt. I would buy more that the Rams win the Super Bowl than Matt Stafford wins MVP. I would buy into that more. Split it that way. So it's not really a shot. It's just like I don't think he's anywhere in that conversation. And so even if he does, I think he kind of backdoors into it. But that's what I'll say. I'm not taking a shot at Stafford. Believe me, I've taken enough in my career. He's proved me wrong. But Herbert, yeah, Herbert's an interesting one because you do add in the Ladd McConkey connection is huge in that. If that really turns into Burrow, Jamar Chase kind of conversation he's not going to be Jamar Chase, but something where it is two guys that are just so on par together and so playing so well together, then that's something that'll be really interesting to see if he can kind of build that up and then hit some other guys and then kind of fall out of that and hit some other guys. A Harbaugh offense is going to be a little bit harder to do. I know they've been trying to get him going and get him where he needs to be, but it's kind of the JJ McCarthy argument at a certain point. JJ McCarthy got drafted, did everything else, and there is no point in hell he was winning the Heisman because numbers just weren't there. So I think that might detriment him to a point, but depending on what that run game is, if Amarian Hampton and Najee Harris aren't able to really get going, that offensive line isn't able to get the run game, they're going to have to throw the football. And we know Justin Herbert is continuing to progress. So there is somewhat of a dark horse. Maybe one of the running backs gets hurt and they're not quite at having the running game they want. And man, we got to air the ball out now. And Justin Herbert with another year in the system elevates his game, wins the division, starts to light it up. They have a 12-13 win season. And all of a sudden he's in that conversation. I can buy that one a little bit more. You said you got one more for us?
Yeah. Well, just back on Justin Herbert for 1 second.
Yeah, go for it.
I think that you mentioned the quarterback receiver connection. I think it's probably going to be more of a Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp via 2021 type thing, where they're in each other's heads. They know exactly what each other's going to do and that kind of thing. So if that happens, then I think he has a really good chance.
Yes.
My other one is Bo Nix.
Okay.
I'm worried about the sophomore slump thing, but I think that defense is going to be so good that they're going to be in every single game that they play regardless. And I think that he's going to take a step forward with Sean Payton. I think that they did a good job of addressing their needs offensively to kind of help him. And I do think that they're going to win the AFC West. I think that they're going to upset the Chiefs and win the AFC West. And if they do that and they go 13-4, then he's going to be in that conversation. I don't know if he's going to win it, but he'll be in the conversation.
Yeah. No, I can go with that one. You just have to get in the conversation at a certain point, and adding a couple more pieces in there. Hopefully they figured out some more in the run games that they feel they'll be a little bit better, but if Sean Payton can get him up there, we know Sean Payton's had an MVP quarterback before and Drew Brees. He's gotten somebody to that point. So we'll see if he's able to push him to that level. I think there'll be a bit more of a sophomore slump on him. So I wouldn't let's put it this way. I would put no money on Bo Nix to not have a sophomore slump. Not bad, but more like the CJ Stroud sophomore slump, where it's still a playoff team. It's still all of these things, but you're not looking at him going, oh, this guy is by far, give him the money now. Back up the Brinks truck, pay him as soon as you can. You're maybe like, all right, let's talk about that contract. I think maybe that'll be his sophomore year, and then he'll continue to progress. So I would say Bo Nix for me, I would go Bo Nix 4th year in the league. I think 4th year in the league, Bo Nix is where I'd start to put my money. This is where I think he starts to go up. But speaking of a second-year quarterback, before we take a quick break and wrap up the show, Jaden Daniels is 4th on voting. So that's the reason neither one of us really named him, I think, was because he's there. He's not really a dark horse because he's 5th, right? He's right behind that big group of 4 guys. If you had to say Jaden Daniels' odds of winning the MVP versus not the top 4, but the rest of the league, basically the rest of all those quarterbacks, so all the guys you just named, do you think Jaden Daniels has a real better shot than all of those other guys, or do you think maybe he falls a little bit further back in that list?
No, I think that he has a legitimate shot. That's why I didn't name him. I think he's very far from being a dark horse in this race because he has a chance to win that division. They made a lot of moves that are gonna help him out. They're gonna protect him better. They gave him more weapons. They're gonna have a better running game. So yeah, I mean, I would not be shocked in the least if he won the MVP at all.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. That is why it's like you can kind of put him on that list because he is a sophomore and we don't know what he's going to be, but I think Jaden Daniels has shown enough last season that you can't say with what they're trying to put together and giving him some more weapons that it's out of the realm of possibility. All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll come back, get to our meathead of the day, and wrap things up here on a Thursday afternoon here on Open Gym on Texas Sports Unfiltered.
Hi, I'm Hayden Covert. Welcome to Covert Buick GMC of Bee Cave, your home in the Hill Country for new and pre-owned Buick and GMC vehicles. With beautiful inventory arriving daily, including the GMC Yukon, Sierra 1500, and Buick Enclave, you'll be certain to find the perfect vehicle at an incredible deal. Our service department is also open for all your vehicle maintenance needs. Visit us today for a test drive. Covert, born and raised in Austin. We are professional grade.
Altstadt Beer, the best beer that you can find all throughout the great state of Texas. Y'all know I've been a fan of Altstadt for years now, and if you try it, I think you will be too. If you've already tried it, you know exactly what I am talking about. Altstadt is brewed locally in Fredericksburg, but available all over the state of Texas. So if you're tuned in Austin, San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, it does not matter. You can find Altstadt at a local grocery store or liquor store. They've got a bunch of different brews, something for every beer drinker out there. The lager, the Kolsch, those are their two flagship beers, both award winners. They are fantastic. The Altstadt Light sacrifices on calories but does not sacrifice on the taste. They've got great pills, tons of great seasonals as well. I'm telling you, one sip and you won't go back to the other beers you've been drinking in the past. It is the official beer of BK. It should be the official beer of you as well. It's Altstadt Beer. No impurities, no regrets.
Hey y'all, I'm Camille McKay.
And I'm Tom McKay, owner of Audiovisual Consultations.
The old man and I are here to give you your summer weather forecast. It's hot.
That's right, kid.
Which means it's time for pool parties, grilling burgers, and taking a beach vacation, right?
Well, I don't know about a vacation, but Audiovisual brings more heat than any tropical destination.
It was worth a shot. I'll settle for some outdoor speakers.
You know, Audiovisual can do a lot more than that. We provide outdoor video screens, audio systems, landscape lighting, even solar shades for your patio to keep the Texas heat at bay.
Well, I'm sold. Let's wrap this up. I'm ready to lounge on a floaty and listen to some smooth jazz.
Well, that sounds wonderful, but some smooth reggae is the way to go this summer.
Good thing we can listen to both with the Sonos sound system. I call dibs on the floaty, though. Peace out.
Kid, wait a second. Give us a call at 512-255-8678 or visit us at avconsultations.com. That's 512-255-8678.
All right, back here to wrap things up on a Thursday afternoon. I don't want to speak too soon, but we're 2 minutes away from it. So I'm going to say, I think we've made it, Matt. I think I haven't dropped off in a while. Maybe everything is fixed. I don't want to speak too soon because we got a couple more minutes. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us today and dealing with those technical difficulties. Shout out to my man Chan on the text line as well. Always appreciate you. I'm hoping to go out and catch a show tonight. I just got a text. I forgot my friends are playing just down the road over at Meanwhile Brewing tonight. So I may go check out my friend's ADH project playing a show tonight. Nice early one. Like they're playing like 7:30. You got to love the 7:30 show.
No,
getting older. Love that. My friends call me. They're like, hey man, I'm playing tonight. You go, oh, cool, man. Maybe I'll come check it out. What time do you go on? They go, like, we're trying to go on like 1:15. 1:15? No, not showing up to a show. Are you crazy? Let's hit this meathead of the day real quick. It's a quick one. It is maybe the worst tattoo in the history of tattoos. That is Jason Kelsey naked with an eagle coming out of where another piece would be. That tattoo, that's rough. That's rough.
Did they say who got that tattoo?
I did not see who got it. I think they didn't want to show their face, on account of losing jobs and and people, checking you into mental institutions and things like that for getting that tattoo.
When you said the worst tattoo ever, I was like, come on.
It was a high bar, wasn't it?
It can't be that. You got another man naked tattooed on your body.
Wearing knee and elbow pads.
I mean, that's going to be on your body for the rest of your life, big guy.
No, he figures they're not that far away from laser tattoo removal. That'll not be that painful. He's like, I get rid of this in a couple years. It'll be gone.
That's bad. That's bad. I thought I knew bad. I know a guy who's gotten his fiance's name tattooed on him twice, and she dumped him after both times.
There was a comedian.
This is way worse.
There is a comedian who used to do that. He had a character, Otis Lee Crenshaw, and he used to have Brenda, I think it was, on his arm, and it would say Brenda, and it'd be crossed out, and underneath it Brenda, and it crossed out, and underneath it Brenda, and crossed out. It was just all down his arm, the same name written and crossed out. Was the joke. So it's good stuff there. All right, we got to get out of here. We'll be back tomorrow. We're going to put together our list. Me and Matt will get on that. We will have a list for you of the top something amount of plays for the Longhorns in the last 25 years. We appreciate your suggestions. We'll figure out how many of these I can get videos and post on social media. We can't play them on here because of legalities and realities, but we will be able to talk about the plays and maybe post them online and see what you guys appreciate out there with that. But until then, be kind, be safe, keep your underwear clean, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow for more